That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
And welcome back, fam. You are back for another episode of the Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Steve, being brought to you, with my co-host. I got two of them this time. We got Zach Burr. We got the big man down the bottom, Tom Arnone. We're gonna have some fun for you this afternoon. Gonna be doing some live reactions for the NFC Divisional game. Packers Rams. It should be fun. Also, obviously, I told you guys last week I'm going to be doing a giveaway live on air this week. I'm going to be doing a giveaway for that. And obviously, if you don't know, we just passed 4K on YouTube. Maybe I see that those numbers in the chat go up. Maybe we'll do too. Who knows? We'll see what we do. We got a lot of fun stuff for that kind of stuff lined up throughout the year for you guys. But as far as today goes, going to be talking some Phillies. Obviously, another tender to Realmuto was offered. Going to be talking some Sixers, and we're also going to be joined by UFC fighter Sam Alvey in the final hour there. So should definitely be a good one. But obviously we're brought to you by our doc, make him your doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, 2 locations in Burlington, Cherry Hill. Make them yours, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And the poll question today, I want to get your guys' opinion. A nice little nugget I came across last night. Will Aaron Rodgers host his first NFC championship game in Lambeau? Agree to disagree? Let us know in the comments, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff, fam. You know what to do. And guys, obviously that is brought to you by Ambuck Services. That's AMBUCK Services. Call Michael Ambrose. Tell him E2D sent you. Anything around your house, gutter guards, they got you covered. That's ambuckservices.com. What do you guys think? Are the Rams be able to pull off the upset, or will Aaron Rodgers get that NFC championship game in Lambeau?
I think it's going to be a close game, but I like Green Bay today. I like Rodgers pulling off. I just like everything about it. 10 years since he won his first Super Bowl. I like the idea of Packers-Chiefs, a rematch of Super Bowl I. I just like a lot of things about how the playoffs are playing out on both sides. So I'm going to roll with Green Bay all the way to the Super Bowl, and that means I've got to have them winning today.
I was about to really disagree just because I don't know. I got a weird vibe about this one, but then Cooper Kupp has just been ruled out officially as we were.
You just took that security blanket away. I might be with you on that one, Tom.
We were reading off that.
Because Zach knows he wasn't on the Rams train last week, and I already said it, man. Defense wins in playoff times, and regardless of how you feel, how inefficient that offense is, you got to remember our run back at 17. We weren't exactly firing on all cylinders going in there, even as we got in there. But hey, look, you get it to come together. And we'll see what happens. I'm with the fact that you're going with that, I'm gonna have to lean it back towards what Tom's saying. We're gonna see Aaron Rodgers host his first NFC title game in Lambeau. We'll see what happens. With the Buccaneers and the Saints. That's a discussion for another day. But yeah, man, you still gotta give some love to that Rams defense. They're going to keep them in this game. It's not like this is going to be, this is going to be Aaron Rodgers just going crazy. It's possible, yeah, but I just, with Aaron Donald, and you have one of the premier corners in the game going against Devontae Adams. That should probably be the more fun matchup to probably watch in this afternoon's game. What do you guys think?
I love watching Jalen Ramsey cover every wide receiver he goes against. It's so fun to watch him play football, and the way he's able to take elite receivers out of the game. He did it again last week. Guys, for all the off the field shit and all the knucklehead stuff maybe we've talked about with him, the guy's been at the top of his position for 4 years now, close to it. So there's very few times you're talking about a corner in this sense where you feel like in today's football he's this much of a game breaker. He's that guy. He takes the other team's best receiver. He doesn't just slow them down. He's been able to completely take them out of the football game and make them ineffective for the most part this year. So, yeah, that's you got that matchup, and then if Donald is able to blow up plays like he did last week, sure, they could do the same thing as they did last week. But I'm not going to pick LA and Jared Goff. I can't pick Jared Goff to go after watching the way he's played to go win last week. Okay, I'm not going to pick him to go beat Green Bay. In Green Bay, do it 2 weeks in a row. Close football game, sure. I still like Green Bay. 17-14 even. I like Green Bay.
I hear what you're saying. What do the Packers struggle with? I mean, it's the reason they got eliminated last year. They have trouble stopping the run. Are they a little bit better at it? Sure, but that's still their Achilles heel defensively.
But that's the question you got to wonder: is does Cam Akers have another one of them games?
Well, that's where I was going with it. I mean, the one thing the Rams have done well is run the football. So, they haven't been able to throw the ball, obviously, last week because of Goff and the thumb. Is it any better this week? Does the cold, right there, with a broken thumb, like Moore is saying, in the cold weather, I mean, how's that hold up? So, I mean, there's some question marks there, but it's going to have to come down to the Rams taking the football away and figuring out a way to do that if they want to hang in this game. But I agree with Zach. I don't know if the Rams can upset them, but it's hard to pick them to win. I do have the Rams in the versus spread though. I mean, I do have the Rams getting 6.5, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. So,
yeah,
I mean, geez, now I wish I bet on sports. It does feel like an easy line to cover, Tommy. I'm with you. I would be surprised. That would really surprise me to see them win this game by a touchdown, 10 points, something like that. I'm seeing a field goal football game. You know what I mean? I can't. That's shocking to me that it's 6.5.
It's a lot.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah, but Rams on the road again. Well, I mean, defense travels though, man. That's the one thing you got to say. And going right back to what I was saying, they needed to force turnovers. This is kind of that situation that kind of plays into defenses more than offenses. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna say neither one of them breaks 30 points in this game, but I could see a low scoring first half for sure.
But you think somebody could score 30 points? So you're saying you wouldn't?
I don't think neither one of them is going to score 30, but I wouldn't be surprised if between the two of them we don't have more than 14 points in the first half. I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised we had another 10-3 going in the half, and then the adjustments come out, and we start seeing things take off.
As good as Russell Wilson's been this year, he's been phenomenal again. They shut him down last week. The guy turned the football over. I don't want to say at an alarming rate, but he had 13 interceptions or whatever. You're not talking about it being an atrocious amount, right? But when you compare it to a guy in Rodgers who had 4 interceptions this year, this conversation about their defense, you take the ball away. Sure, that's a lot easier said than done against this offense. I'm looking at it more just you've got to try to, like, if you're
well, I think it's going to be more along
defense.
those lines of not Aaron Rodgers making a bad decision. It's just one of those things where guys fighting for a ball, you're trying to grind out to get a first down to get some yardage to keep the clock moving, and guy gets in there, pops it out. You wind up with a short field and being able to change the momentum of the game. If you win it goes back to basically what we talk about on football all the time: win the turnover battle, win the time possession battle. If the Rams could do that, they could possibly squeak this one out. But a lot of people kind of feel along the lines that this is, Green. We're going to see, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. The two old lions kind of batted it out for the NFC East title. But we'll see if the Rams are going to have anything to say about that this afternoon. And what are you guys thinking for tonight's game?
See, that's going to be the matchup that, like, I think could define this whole, like, the whole entire playoffs. When you look back on it after the Super Bowl and look back and say, which game defined the way, because both of those teams are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Like, you're looking at them both right now in the divisional round, like a legitimate Super Bowl threat gets knocked out now. You're going into next week. One of those two teams has got to feel like, okay, wow, we've already proven that, we can, we're capable of winning the Super Bowl. We just beat a Super Bowl team last week. Now, if you play in Kansas City, are you really that scared of Kansas City if you're Baltimore or Buffalo, knowing you just came off beating, you guys just went to battle and whoever, okay, yeah, we can go toe-to-toe now with anybody in football. That's a lot less of an intimidating football game for me, if you're one of those two football teams, with the type of confidence you gain winning that game tonight. That's a big-time football game. I think that's got a chance to be high scoring too. We talk about, like, a little bit of a shootout, like, type of game. Like, that's like old, like, I see, like, one of those, like, old fashioned like Oilers from the 90s, the run and shoot type offense. You're gonna have like 45-41 type shit by the end of it. Like, everybody's gonna be throwing the ball 50-60 times down the field. Nobody's gonna be running by the end of it. They're all just gonna be throwing the ball.
Yeah,
Hollywood Brown, guys like that.
I mean, that's going to be a snow game, I think. I think there's snow in Buffalo, so that might.
Who cares? For those two teams, who cares? Anything they're not used to, yeah, sling it. You're Josh Allen, fuck it, sling it.
Yeah, but the other team doesn't sling it.
Yeah, you might wind up seeing Buffalo might wind up trouncing them if especially if Baltimore can't get that nice little mix they had with the running game with Lamar and getting that middle to intermediate passes. And you got to remember, in the beginning of games, he doesn't exactly protect the ball well. We seen that again last week. Bounced back very well, obviously, but we'll see.
Yeah, I didn't know no flurries.
No flowers.
32 degrees. It's only 32 degrees in Buffalo tonight. Wow. Okay. Feel like it'd be a little colder there. You know what I mean? It'd be a little colder in Buffalo, but
Don's throwing his prediction in there though. he's got Justin Tucker getting a game winner. Knocking the Bills off. I mean, if you really think of it, if you're gonna sit there and say you would, who as a fan you want to see in that matchup going against possibly Kansas City, obviously they still have to play Cleveland, but if you want to go up again, if you're picking one that you would say has the better chance of making it, would you say it's Rams or Bills? I said Rams. That's the Ravens.
The Ravens or Bills? I still think the Bills are a more complete football team. I still like Buffalo top to bottom.
Oh man, here's the question, because the Josh McDaniels rumors hit. I think what was like an hour or so before we came on. So we have a Pats fan in here. Do we want Josh McDaniels?
Like, so because he's coming in for an interview, like that doesn't, to me, that doesn't, like, if that would have been 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, like, okay, like hot name. Like, after this year, after watching that offense, Jesus, like, I don't. Is this, like, how is this guy even a candidate for a head coaching job?
I mean, first off, I think the Bills win tonight. Ravens are tough, but you got to be able to throw the football a little bit. They don't throw the football a little bit. But McDaniels, I mean, Look at all the names out there. It's all a bunch of slop anyway. It's a bunch of slop. Like, I mean, we're going to go off of this year's offense with Cam Newton, no wide receivers, no running.
It was a rebuild year. Anyone who knows football knows that they positioned themselves to be able to go make moves this coming off season. I think they're almost like $100 million, like in cap space almost. So yeah, I think they position. I think this was known that they were going to do what they were going to do this year. Whatever they got out of Cam is whatever they got out of. If it got them 8 wins, if it got them 4 wins, if it got them 6 wins, so be it.
So you would like McDaniels as a hire?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't have a problem with it per se. Like, we need an offensive mind in here that's going to mesh well with Carson and help him progress forward. We cannot have this continued progress of moving backwards. Regardless if you feel Carson's the guy, regardless if you feel Jalen's the guy, you need an offensive mind that is going to work with Carson to continue to go forward, not in the direction that we've seen over the past few seasons.
Oh,
if Josh McDaniels is that answer, I'm not the one to sit there and say that. But out of all the other options that are out there, we're running that list is starting to thin out on the wanting candidates, and the fact that we've already have more than a handful in there, and we haven't seen one. You would have to assume that it's either they're looking for a guy that's on a coaching staff still in play, or you're going to see guys like McDaniels kind of pop up, or these college coaches. We just seen Urban Meyer go down to Jacksonville. So
that whole thing just has power struggle written all over it to me. They bring a guy like McDaniels in from the Patriots organization with everything that's going on there, and how he was brought up under Belichick. He's going to come in and be a yes man to Laurie or Roseman for that matter. I don't see any of that meshing at all, unless we're completely misreading the dynamic that's going on in the Eagles front office right now.
There's a
McDaniels is going to come in and are they going to be like, oh yeah, here you go, you can have some control over this shit, because otherwise that interview is not going to last long.
There's a bold statement down here. The Browns beating the Chiefs.
Okay. I mean,
do you see that feasible in this universe, fellas?
Yes.
I'm not. Listen, this NFL nothing's impossible with it, but I'm not going to be predicting the Cleveland Browns.
I already know Tom got big love for Baker, so I want to hear it, brother.
Nothing to do with Baker. What's the recipe for success to be able to beat an explosive offense?
Run the ball.
They got the ball. They got 2 of them. If there's somebody to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, it's them. Listen, their red zone defense is atrocious. Kansas City. Their defense is maybe the most overrated defense in football. They're not good defensively. If a team's going down the football, they can play with them. But I mean, that's a big task to ask when you're a 10-point dog to go beat somebody in their place is always tough. But if there's a team in the AFC, not even in the AFC, because Baltimore and Buffalo doesn't run the football that well, but they both have good offenses. But that's the team that can ball control them. I mean, Baltimore sort of can too, but that's really a ball control type team in Cleveland where they really pound the rock. But
I see their defense though, like, not that their defense is like bad, but like against great offenses, I've seen offenses move the football against them. I watched Mason Rudolph fucking throw for 350 yards against them, for God's sakes, the final week of the year. So I mean, you keep them off the field, but every time Kansas City's offense on the field, I still think Kansas City's going to score. Like, I don't think you're shutting Kansas City's offense down. You might slow them down. You're not shutting them down. How many points can you you think Cleveland's got a chance to go score 35 on them or something? Just say, okay, they're going to have, Kansas City's not going to have the ball enough times to be able to catch up or something like that. Like, if they get ahead, score 31, 35 points, or ahead 35-14, something like that, and all of a sudden you're halfway through the third quarter and Kansas City's not going to have enough opportunities to claw the way back in or something. That's why I feel like I'm getting the read from you that you feel like something like that could happen.
No,
they jump out early, and then it's kind of like hard for Kansas City to fight back in.
It's one of those games I think is where Tom's saying, like, if they can successfully run the ball and do it well in the red zone and just have Baker Mayfield give them enough opportunities to not put them in a losing situation, it's feasible that Cleveland could be a team that could upset them. It's not out of the realm.
I might bet on the 9.5 line. I might say, like, okay, like Cleveland covers, but I wouldn't feel comfortable saying like Cleveland's going to go in and beat Kansas City.
I mean,
but hell, I mean that's a big time win if they do. Yeah, that's a big that changes your franchise around.
saying outright's a tough thing to say. You know what I mean? Like expect them to come here and beat them, but if there's a team that I just think can control the clock versus them, it's them. But
you're right. You're not wrong there.
You got a couple people in here that's got some Brownies love. So
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of hoping for Kansas City to lose too. Like it's like once you become that team that's kind of out there on the mountain.
But they haven't even been that team. Like, all right, if they do it this year, if they do it again this year, they'll be that team.
I mean, okay. I mean, I'm just saying. I just think there's a lot of fans immediately. Like, unless you're a Kansas City fan, all of a sudden you're just a fan of football. I just see a lot of casual football fans who are like, if they're like, I don't have a dog in this fight, I want to see Cleveland win that game just because. It's a great story. Cleveland hasn't been shit for a long time, and it would be if they win that football game. I mean, that's hell. I mean, that's when they can kind of boast up and be like, fuck all this shit that's happened in the past 20 years. We're turning the corner now as an organization. So it would be a big time win for them, but. There's a difference in like trying to wish something into existence and like the reality of it actually happening.
True, but I mean this is why it's playoff football.
No, you're right. You're right, and I agree with what you're saying. They have the formula.
Nobody has home field advantage per se anymore. Like I mean you do, but you don't. Like you're gonna have 6,000 people there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all that's thrown away. Like it's just the environment you got to go play in, right? So like even with this Packers game, you know what I mean? You're going to Lambeau, but you're not going to Lambeau with 40,000 people. Tomorrow the Browns, they're not going to Arrowhead and there's 70,000 people rocking and rolling, right? They're just not. They're just going there with 6,000 people. So you know what I mean? That sometimes can be harder on the home team. Now, the big question mark for both of these teams that have had a week off. Okay, do they come out slow? You're gonna with the Packers right now. Do they come out slow with having the week off? Did the Chiefs come out a little slow? Andy's great after bye, so I would assume Andy's coming out hot after a bye. But
another one, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the other side of me that like
even harder for Cleveland.
That's the other side of me that likes KC. Like but Kansas City doesn't run the ball well. They should, but they don't. It's really weird. Like their defense, they don't stop the run well. They don't run the football well. But they'll light you up for 45, which at some point to me can get exposed. Like you don't gotta be equal, but you gotta be able to run the football enough. And to have the backs they do, and they don't really run it that well, is a little strange to me. So we'll see. That's gonna be a fun one too. I think we got a great 4-pack of games happening, which is great.
Yeah, there really isn't a snoozer. Like there really isn't a game that you look at and you're like, yeah. Like every single one of those, all four of them get you like, ooh, I can't wait. I'm fired up for that one, type of attitude.
Don throwing us a little Flyers love right now. I don't know. It's too early to say, man. I love the Fly guys. I got some high hopes for them. It's really up to the goalie and if they can get stop the self-inflicted wounds like we typically do on this team. It's still early. We'll see what happens when it comes playoff time. Don, we'll see.
Don, what do you think of the hires of your Lions so far? They got the GM hire. What do you think? Yeah, no, you're looking. You're just like you need something. You need some type
Damien,
of
literally, I think this is something me and Zach talked about off air. The first part of it didn't happen, but we seen 2 LA championships. We almost could have. Ohio State didn't get the national title, but I like to see curses and championship streaks end. When teams just haven't been in it for a while. Cleveland's been. Their football team has deserved a little love for some time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I think there's a lot of people like they're just they.
Well, no, I mean there's people there from like the Jim Brown eras that they've been dying for. The people had to go through the Elway stuff and had to go through Bernie Kosar and all that time and to lose your team and then have it brought back. I mean, Browns fans do deserve it. I just don't think this year's the year. No matter how much I like the running game and everything else that they're doing, but
they're going in the right direction though, which is something like when was the last time you could talk about Cleveland going any direction that wasn't south? Like They've been trying to find the right direction for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Okay. Apparently, Pat's fan didn't really care for the hire, and Don obviously
he said he liked the GM hire. Yeah, I've heard. I mean, now this I heard, right? Like you try to look into see like what like scouts and executives and different like what's the word that goes around about guys that get hired around the league. Like, okay, he's supposed to be like a really respected, guy that has had a lot of success scouting and things like that. So if you're an organization like the Lions, right, you're trying to find a foundation. It doesn't seem like you can be mad about it. You can't be mad about much if you're them, right? Like, you can't be much worse than some of the shit you've seen. So.
But
I tell you what, I don't even know that much about the guy, Steven, but I will trade the Lions' Howie Roseman for whoever the fuck they just hired right now. And I feel like we won the trade.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you with that. The other news that I was going to ask you before we were getting ready to move on, someone just brought up here the rumors to Doug in Seattle. Is that kind of a downgrade cross move for Doug?
They're not going to hire Doug. I think they hire Anthony Lynn, to be honest. But I mean, why like?
Patricia, not Patricia. They should have kept Dan Caldwell. If you want to be completely honest with the line situation.
Dan Campbell.
Oh, was it Caldwell?
Campbell or Caldwell?
Yeah, I thought it was Caldwell. I thought he just hired Campbell.
No, I don't know. It's Caldwell. No, you're talking about Darrell Bevel. You're talking about Darrell Bevel. He was the guy for the Lions that was the interim head coach.
Zach, what the hell are you talking about? Why would they not? Why would Seattle not hire Doug as their offense coordinator? Why would they not? Like, why wouldn't they? I can see him not.
Well, I think Doug's best quality is being a leader of men. If I'm a team, I'd rather hire him as a head coach. But I was about to say right before like Steven and we got sidetracked on one other thing that I thought maybe the only reason Pete would look into it was the fact that he looks at Doug and says, okay, I've got a second head coach in the building or somebody I really trust that I can lean on. Right. That's the only reason I could see him doing it. But I don't really look at Doug as a guy that I say, here, come run my offense. I look at him as more a guy that I say, here, come run my entire football team.
Okay, gotcha. Just curious where you're going with that. But more if you thought that like Doug could really wants a year off, or you know how these guys always say
that's where I was thinking about.
I mean, I don't think he's going to take an offensive coordinator's job if we're really being honest about that. Like he would take.
I don't know. Maybe it's a situation where Pete's getting ready to walk away and Doug's gonna take over the reins. Maybe it's kind of a situation like that.
I mean, well, then maybe maybe you're onto something there. Sure, that would be some talks obviously that are going on behind the scenes that we would. Yeah, that's part of whatever interview process or whatever they have. But yeah. None of this will shock me, but I just like, why would Doug walk out of this situation to go take like an offensive coordinator's job? Like, I just don't see that as like.
Yeah, but if you're putting like I said, like if it's in that pretense of what I'm kind of laying out for you, if it's going to be one of those situations where you're taking over for a guy like where Pete's going to get ready to walk away or something like that, and you're in a place like Seattle where you have a good structure around you. And kind of a similar fan base, when you look at the team support around it. So
what if he takes over that offense and they take a step back and they struggle a little bit and all of a sudden
that could be a very real possibility. We watched it here.
I mean, it just doesn't sound like a solid career move for Doug. Like, yeah, great, I could be the head coach of waiting, and then something really bad could happen. Russell Wilson blows his knee out. This offense goes completely to dog shit.
Well, and that's the other thing you got to think about it. Like, how much does Russ got left in the tank? You know what I mean?
It's just, I don't know. That whole thing seems strange to me. When I read Doug Peterson, the interview for the offensive coordinator spot in Seattle, I was just kind of like, why? Like, none of it really seemed to, like, if you're connecting the dots here, like, it seemed like they were all over the place. Like, I couldn't piece it together in my mind why that would make sense on either side, really. But, again, I'm not the smartest person in the room, obviously. Pete Carroll's a much smarter person than I am. That Seahawks organization has proven to be a very well-run organization. So who am I to sit here and knock it if they bring him in? Maybe they have a young assistant already on the staff that they're like, hey, that guy's already going to be, involved in running the offense because he's got a good relationship with Russ and the receivers or whatever. And they don't really need a guy to come in and completely overhaul the offense. You know what the offense already is. You're just kind of there nurturing it a little.
Don wants to know who are our guesses who will be hired for the next Eagles head coaching job. I know who Zach likes. What do you think, Tom? Who will be announced in the next few weeks? The next Eagles head coach, will it be in house? Will it be a name we're talking about? Someone we're not. Someone we're not. Someone we are. What do you think?
I don't think you guys want to hear it.
I
do want to hear it. Why would I want to hear it? I take my medicine regardless if it's good or bad. Let's do it.
It's going to be Deuce Staley. They're going to keep it in-house. They're going to go to the assistant coach who was part of a roster and a coaching staff that fucking failed. They're going to go that direction. It's a joke. It's a yes man. I like Deuce, and I think one day he can be a good head coach, but not here. Not right now. Like, what are we doing? You're setting a dude up to totally fail. This organization is going to go in total rebuild mode, and he's going to be the scapegoat for failure. It's all a joke. And if they do go outside the organization, they do. I really think now with his name surfacing, because of how much Jeffrey Lurie loves the Patriots, that Josh McDaniels would be his hire, right? Because he just loves the Patriots way. So that's what draws me that way. Thinking, and that's not like I actually can't believe I'm saying. I might like the Josh McDaniels hire more than the Deuce, even though I like Deuce more, just because he can learn from his first failure. When he failed in Denver, maybe you can learn some things and get better, right? So that's what makes me think that
that's a solid point, Tommy. Love that.
Like what's his face? I mean, Bill learned from his first rodeo in Cleveland. Like, guys learn sometimes if they want to learn, if they want to get better, if they want to grow, right? They're going to learn how to be a better leader of men if that's the thing he dropped the ball on, or if it's personnel, if it's scheme, if it's not having your hand in too much in the offensive pot and trusting the guys around, whatever it may be. But you do know one thing though: if Josh McDaniels is hired, you do know that you're getting some Patriots guys that come with them. So it's how much you trust in the Patriot way. Before Brady left, right? You got to look at it like that, or was it just you had greatness? So there's two ways of looking at that, right? You have greatness, but just because you have greatness, you still got to win, and you still got to scheme, and you still got to do things to win, even though you have greatness. So he always got the best out of Brady. You see Brady with Arians' offense, it's different. It's more explosive. It's more down the field. But in New England, it was get the ball out of your hand. Get the ball out of your hand. And the best thing for Carson Wentz, if we're looking for Carson Wentz, the best thing for Carson Wentz is get a guy in here that's going to get the ball out of his goddamn hand. All right, and not deal with his excuses. To me, Deuce Staley, if these excuses are real, if all this shit's real, then you got another yes man. Okay, then we're not going to hold you accountable. The thing we begged for the Sixers was a fucking accountability. The thing we beg for in sports is accountability. You got to hold pros accountable, man. And I'm not saying it's true or not. I don't know what to believe anymore. Okay, I don't. I really don't. But the only thing I know is I got to get a guy in here that's going to hold him accountable. I got to get, like Steve said, I need an offensive guy. And I'm not telling McDaniels is a genius. I just feel like at least I'll hold him accountable, because he comes from, who are you talking to type thing, right? Like, you see how many rings I got on my goddamn finger? So he comes with a little bit of that. Does Deuce come with that? I mean, because he's been here. If he wasn't here, I would say he comes with that. He comes with a chest out, right? Because he's played the game. So he'll come with that. But he's been here. He's been around them, and that didn't matter. So what's it going to change next year? He was the assistant goddamn head coach, in case anybody missed it. The assistant head coach. This team won 4 games, and the coach got fired. But he's not allowed to give. He's not allowed to give job promotions inside the coaching staff, but the organization is. So it's all a fucking mess. But then you're going to promote a guy that he's not allowed to promote? Stop it. Stop. If he gets hired, I'm telling you, I'm done. And I love him. I'm still going to watch him. I'm still going to be excited. But I'm done for a minute because it's the Flyers bullshit for 20 plus years that they finally got out of it. Now they're winning. Come on. Like, if the Patriots want to do that shit, let the Patriots do that shit, because they've won fucking 100 Super Bowls now. You know what I mean? Then they have the right for an owner and Robert Kraft or a general manager to do stuff like this. This is a mess.
The thing I love most. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say I'm with Tommy on a lot of this stuff here. Like, I agree that it's going to be Deuce. I agree they're going to try to keep something in house so they can control it. I agree with him on the fact that I think Josh McDaniels would probably be just a slightly better option, just from what I was mentioning with the you need an offensive mind in here, and the other thing that he was mentioned, like where he comes from, a lineage where you're not just going to sit there and shotgun things and do things the way you want. I'm not going to do this. That's not gonna fly. And Deuce is a part of the infection that hurt Carson. So why would you keep that problem there if obviously him being kept here was the ultimate problem, the result of the problem with him and Doug, apparently, from what reports are said, being told, etc. But at the end of the day, I'm also with him where I'm done with this organization, because it's something that Eagles fans, if you lived long enough, this is a pattern that is happening all over again. If you've been following pro sports in the city long enough, it's happening again. And this is something that we have brought upon ourselves. I've been saying it for a month or two now. We deserve this because we, not just we as fans, but this organization has allowed this to happen. We deserve it. Well, I love this team. I'll bleed green. I'll bleed orange. I'll bleed red till I die. But one thing that we will do as fans, is one thing we will do as media company, is hold every one of them responsible for this. We're not the ones that are writing checks. You guys are.
My favorite point about what you said, Tommy, which has kind of swung me maybe a little bit more into liking the idea of McDaniels, is as I brought up the point of why would he go somewhere where he couldn't have power or some say over personnel. And when you brought up learning from your first experiences, one thing that could give the Eagles leverage in that conversation is what happened in Denver when they gave McDaniels control. Was everything fucking fell apart and just went completely to shit. So you could use that as leverage on your side to say, no, we just want you to be the head coach. We love all that. We, please just focus on that, and we kind of, have the evidence of what happens if you get control of a football team. You've got to earn that first. And, it's going to be hard for McDaniels to say, okay, yeah, I need control, when, there is that past failure of him being a guy that ended up being given control and ran an organization into the ground. So maybe I could see it happen a little bit more now on that end, with him not wanting to come in and be so power hungry right away. I'm not there's not really a hire. I would hate Deuce, the Deuce. I mean, I'm kind of with you on connecting the dots, where maybe they do promote him from within just because it seems like just a weasel type move to do. But I would hate the idea of Deuce.
And it's sad because most of us here who watched him be an Eagle, we love the man.
Yeah,
we do. There's not a problem that we have with him as a man, as a player, or even as a coach per se. But this isn't the spot for him.
This is how much I hate the idea of Deuce Staley as head coach. I'm literally okay with anybody else that they hire. I hate the idea of Deuce being promoted to head coach so much that they could hire Todd Bowles, and I wouldn't like it, but I'd be like, well, hell, at least it's not Deuce. Literally, that's where I'm at with Deuce being named the head coach on this football team. And that's not an insult to Deuce, as you're saying. It's just this whole idea that this whole thing's turned into a cancer, and it's just completely gotten out of hand, and whether Deuce is responsible for it in any way or not is irrelevant. The bottom line is he's been here to see it all go from really, really good to nosedive to really, really bad, and pretty much as close to rock bottom as you can get. I don't need anybody involved with that to be involved with this. If we're rebuilding, or whatever the phrase we want to use is, then it needs to be a full rebuild. And that means you need people that have nothing to do with the losing environment that this has now become. It's a losing environment, and I hate to have to fucking say it, but that's what it is. Right now, this is a losing environment, and the culture that we thought got changed right after the Super Bowl win wasn't the case. And we need to find somebody that can actually come in and at least start, maybe planting the seeds, of a foundation here going forward.
Yeah, and I don't like that it almost worries me when you see all the veterans make a case for Deuce. You know,
there's a lot of enablers.
yeah, it's like really weird. Like it's almost like, well, why do you guys like? I mean, you can love the guy, but you guys are all making a really big case for him, and it makes me concerned that it's just because you can get away with stuff. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's strange.
That's the whole culture, environment, whatever you want to talk about. That's here. That
there you go. There's your buddy right there. There you go.
I wouldn't be mad at Joe Brady. To be honest, if we're going to take a shot on some guy and just say, okay, we're just, let's take a shot. I'm okay with bringing in some guy that, a lot of people around the league seem to think is the next big thing. If it blows up in your face, okay, it blows up in your face. So what? We weren't in a good position anyway. But I would be okay on taking a shot with him. But, the idea obviously is, can he come in and immediately demand respect from players in this whole idea that, hey, what was going on here before is bullshit and this is the way it's going to work now. Maybe that's where the McDaniels thing, no matter, if I'm talking about how much I hate Howie Roseman, can't stand that weasel. I got to think no matter what, Roseman's influence on this football team is, if a guy like McDaniels is in here, the moment he walks in that door, right, he's got everybody's attention on that football team right away, like that. Like right away, everybody, snaps to attention. Oh, shit, this guy's here. He means business. This guy knows how to win. This is somebody that, we need to listen to, how he can almost be filtered out in that sense, where like, even if I have to worry about him and all the bullshit that goes on with him making personnel decisions as my GM, I almost don't have to worry about the weasel effect that he has on this football team, because Josh McDaniels will take care of all that for me. Hopefully. Like that's the mindset I've got to take toward the idea of hiring a guy like McDaniels. Because Deuce isn't going to block any of that shit out. You know what I mean? Like, Roseman's going to be the same old weasel snake that he's always been if a guy like Deuce is the head coach. And there's going to be absolutely nobody here to silence him or filter him out. And,
And that's where we're at. I mean, there's control issues. There's too many problems. And that doesn't mean that a football team can't get better overnight. That doesn't mean this team can't win 9-10 games next year. I'm not saying any of that. I don't know. I don't got that crystal ball. I don't know what the roster is going to look like. But the ebb and flow of the National Football League and how fast teams can go from 4 wins to 10 wins in a blink of an eye, especially with good quarterback play. I mean, so I don't know. So that's why I'm not in like I know what Jeffrey Lurie said. I consider him a liar anyway, but he's talking about 2 to 5 years rebuild, all this other stuff. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it doesn't mean I'm looking for a shithead coach to just get through it. You know what I mean? I'm looking for somebody that changes organization and move us in the right direction moving forward.
But it's so weird to me. 2 to 5 years. Well, 5 years is a rebuild. 2 years is a retool.
We did 2 years last time, or we made it 1 year, Zach.
Yeah, like 2 to 5 years. That tells me you don't even know what the fuck you want to do. Like you didn't tell me anything by telling me that.
Yeah, you just said, "Hey, we might lose for a minute."
Well, we might not. That's what you told me. Literally, we don't know anything about what the Eagles' future is based off of that press conference we watched with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman.
No, actually, we do. It's dark. It's dark and full of tears of Eagles fans. I promise you.
Okay, we don't know anything positive about the Eagles' future.
Correct.
Correct. 2 days ago.
Like a lot of lies.
Oh man,
Walter Brandon was the name I was trying to think of 2 days ago. By the way,
Don, if we had an answer for you, I promise you we would tell you, Don. I promise you, we have no answer for this. He should have been gone already. In my opinion, Howie Roseman is now the Jack Bauer of GMs. You can't kill him. You can't fire him. You can't kidnap him and get rid of him. There's nothing we can do to get rid of this guy. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to tell you, Don. I don't know what to tell our fans. We are stuck with this freaking weasel, and it's going to make this team worse over the next few seasons. I promise you.
How strange is it though that he was obviously a part of Andy's walk away. He obviously, we knew, fired Chip, fired Doug, and now.
But what other GM gets what? You already said it. I think this is going to be his 4th coach, but technically Andy wasn't his. 3 coaches.
It'll be his 3rd hire, but still, what GM gets 3 head coaching hires? Like usually the GM and the head coach are a package deal.
That means you failed 3 times. I mean, what? Like, how's that work? Like, no, like at some point, homeboy, your job's up. And it should be up this one because you were a big culprit in why this team went to 4 wins. So I don't know listen, if he can go to the freaking owner and talk about injuries and the offensive line and different things saving his goddamn job, then why doesn't it save the coach's job? And I'm not saying the coach deserves to save his job. When you win 4 games, I'll say it again, I like Doug, right? But when you win 4 games in this league, guys get fired. It's just the way it goes. So exactly. I'm not like overly mad about it, but I'm mad because both should go. Because if you cleanse me. You didn't clean anything. I feel the same fucking way. I would have felt better just
you washed us with dirty water. Thank you.
Yeah, I would have been better, Steve. I would have been better like what happened in 2016. No, well, you know what? With this head coach, I can flip a switch though, and I can get good real quick, and I can go on a run, right? Knowing that, right? I would rather just came back with everything then and say, you know what? I'll take my chance that we can have a bounce back year. But this doesn't do any good for me because you still have the divide from your general manager and some of the players. You still have all the things that guys who leave here, which I didn't buy into at the beginning, but now I'm starting to buy into it even more. Guys fucking smoke this guy when they leave here. Like, guys that are nobody. Like, Will Park said nobody, with all due respect. You're a nobody. I like you, Will. You're a Philly guy. Congratulations. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm just saying in terms of like a big name, you're a nobody. And you smoked them and you landed right on your feet in Denver. So it's not like you were smoking them because you're out of a job. That's where I think guys that come into this organization from 2017, after 2017, felt like some of the loyalty was to the guys that had been here. I mean, your owner said how he felt obligated to bring all 5 guys back who didn't win a Super Bowl or weren't on the field in 2017. He said in his presser, he felt obligated to bring them all back. That's your owner. And we know if your owner gets his hands too much in the shit, you freaking fail because that ain't his job.
And I hate to bring up this comparison because we keep hearing it. Is Lurie starting to act a lot like that little crumb down in Dallas?
Go get a massage like Robert Kraft, okay?
Something. I mean, you cannot allow this to continue to destroy your franchise, to destroy the chemistry that you had on this team. Because there was no question that the bond this team had between 16, 17, and 18. That doesn't go away like that without some toxic freaking measurement inside of it. And I'm sorry, but you can't sell me on the fact that it was Doug alone. You're not going to sell me on that fact. I'm with Tom that it should have been a package deal. And 90% of the sports franchises, when that happens, it does happen. It's a few and far between percentage where you see the GM gets kept on, and not just. And then normally, if there's another coach that is brought in and have to get brought in, that's normally when they go. For him staying here is probably one of the craziest anomalies of 2020, and is going to be a problem for this team moving forward. I don't know what else to tell you, Eagles fans.
Lurie's always had this issue, though, hasn't he? Like, he's always been this way. And I mean, winning the Super Bowl obviously didn't help. It's almost like it just completely made his ego, go out of control. But he's always viewed the Eagles, Andy Reid, all those years, as we're one of the elite organizations in football. We're the Steelers, the Ravens, we're on that level, as far as the way that we operate. And we're not, we're not. And then, when the evidence is so clear that just things aren't working and it's broken and you need to just do whatever, if you've just got to tear it all down in order to make it, to start the process of fixing it, then that's what you got to do. And everybody that seems like over this past year has been able to see that, except Jeffrey Lurie. There's really no way to look at it except saying, yeah, I want Howie fired too. But at this point, we talked about not being able to trust Howie making, draft picks and things like that. How do I trust Lurie to make any type of decision with this organization?
I don't know. He needs to take the beer goggles off when he's looking at his buddy Howie Roseman, because he definitely has them on. I'm telling you.
So if he fires Howie, how do I trust Jeffrey and then go hire? So, he's going to hire another GM. So that's another guy that's not a weasel and a snake? Because now I'm starting to think that not only is Howie a weasel and a snake, but so is Lurie. So we've got 2 snakes running the organization. So, you can fire Howie Roseman, but the real head of the snake, they always say cut off the head of the snake, right? Well, the real head of the snake is Jeffrey Lurie. Well, you can't cut his head off. He's the guy owning the football team and running the operation at the end of the day. So I can wish and sit here and we can play this game about, Howie Roseman being fired, but that doesn't really do enough for me right now to make me feel comfortable either. Like, I'm almost at the point where, like, I have zero confidence in the idea of this football team being competitive at any point, like over the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe we have to suck so bad for like an extended period of time for Lurie to finally get that message. Maybe 1 or 2 years of it isn't enough. Like maybe it's finally going to be that hard reality that has to slap them in the face. That 10 years from now we look at it and go, oh damn, we haven't had a playoff appearance in 10 years. We've had two winning records in the past decade. And there's something like that he finally goes, oh damn, wake up, I got to change something here. So maybe I can actually hope for us to be in misery for a little bit or something if that's what it's got to take. But something's got to trigger that guy, because he's not going to sell the football team. He's not going to do that. So how do you get him to wake up and decide, okay, what do we got to do to fix this?
We got to blow it up.
How is a hell of an answer?
We got to blow it up, man.
That's for sure. You asked how does this happen when Peterson gets fired and how he does it? Well, one guy's better at kissing ass than the other.
I definitely not gonna disagree with you there, but also wanted to make sure we get to a few of these other topics. Wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously coming out, Phillies have made another offer to Realmuto, 5 years, $100 million. Do you feel that gets that done? Obviously, the simple fact that we're still sitting here, he hasn't signed with anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you what, I'm surprised that, like, I thought he would have been signed by now. The fact that he's not, and like teams that had, like the Mets went in a different direction and things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of a sudden now you can do this if you're the Phillies. Like, well, you're not getting 5 years and $200 million. If you would have gotten that, you already would have gotten it from somebody. So that's not happening. So let's start talking realistic numbers of what it'll take to keep you here, right? And 5 years, $100 million. That's a good number because that can go to maybe 5 years and $115 million, and we're still like, I'm okay with that. That can go to an extra year, with an option on that deal somehow, and $125 million. Okay, we're still okay.
And then you also, and he's a guy who can hit his player incentives. So, like, if he can work his contract properly,
sure, yeah. But I'm much happier with hearing that number because I don't think he's going to accept that. We're going to play a little hardball here. But
it'll get tweaked up. But I think of the overall feel. What I want to get you, does your feeling feel better about it that you do right at this moment than you did a month ago about him being?
Yeah, I think we signed him now. I think at the end of all of this is what's going to happen.
So if I ask you to put some money, go place a bet, you'd be willing to bet that he's suiting up in red and white pinstripes here in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Thomas, you agree?
I absolutely agree. I think the market out there has
dried up
for him unless he wants to go somewhere that they're going to stink. And he knows they're going to stink. I mean, he can go get overpaid and go to a bad organization. I don't think that's what he wants at this point of his career. The relationship between him and Bryce is real. And his organization can redeem themselves a little bit because if they bring back Didi and JT, I'm telling you, this team can flat out swing it. If they can figure out a way to get out, they're tough. I mean, I know the whole NL East is tough now, so it's a freaking gauntlet. But they're right there. If they bring back both them two guys and continue to
which is something that we all murdered this team for during the offseason, that Didi was going to walk, that JT, we murdered this team. But I think more to Tommy's point, I think the fact that Bryce Harper is here, the fact that he's been vocal about it, I think behind closed doors, he's been having conversation with these guys like, look, let relax. Let's not tear this team apart. We can go make a run here in a year or two. And I actually think, as excited as we have been about the other two teams, if they can put this together and get some pitching and get some quality wins and knock some series out early, you could actually be talking about the Phillies be talking about October baseball in Philadelphia this season. It's a possibility. I don't care, what we feel about this team's deficiencies. If they can pull this together, they could be right back in the position to be in the hunt in October.
I'll tell you this, Dombrowski will pull the trigger at some point. Like Klentak didn't last year. We needed a couple bullpen arms. Like that wouldn't have happened. Like Dombrowski would have made a move by the beginning of June. Like we would have been two months into the season. He would have been like, this shit is not working. And we would have seen a couple guys add into that bullpen, to try to shore things up. Because that's literally all that was missing last year from that team. If we're being honest, Like the bullpen not holding leads late in baseball games. It was absolutely ridiculous the amount of times we gave up leads. It was outrageous when I saw the number. I mean, I knew it was bad, but when I saw the amount of games that we held a lead in that we eventually didn't win, it was like, whoa, what? We gave up, like, it was that bad? So
it was bad, Zach.
You come up one or two moves that Dombrowski's going to have to go make. I trust him to make it. So I think
half the time over the last few seasons, once I heard the starter get pulled from games, I just turn it off, and I already knew.
You're like, oh, here we go.
Listen, dude. A lot of us, went through phases in our lives already going down Citizens Bank Park where we lived down there for the summertime. At this point in time, like if someone told you they were going to come to you with season tickets, would you buy them? At this way this team's constructed, no, and that's the other problem with it. So when they're over here pinching pennies and everything like that, they're at the same time that they're losing the potential money they could be getting regardless.
Hiring Dombrowski's won me back. Like I was, it was really like, no, it's that big of a hire. Like you have no idea. I mean, we talked about the idea, obviously, of bringing in like a Theo Epstein for that reason, right? Like we literally sat here and said, like something has to be done. Like, yeah, Girardi's a great hire, but he's just a manager, right? Like he's not involved in ownership in the front office, unfortunately. Like they had to bring in somebody that like could make me go, yes, like this guy, established, respect, knows what he's doing, knows how to build winners. Dombrowski's that. If I couldn't get Theo, Dombrowski literally is playing like it's a you've got like 1A and 1B, right? Like, and Dombrowski's 1B. Like that's how much I think of him. He doesn't go places and suck. Even if he's there for 5 years and then leaves, he still builds a winner. And if we win a World Series in 5 years and he decides, hey, I'm done, I'm retiring, and pulls a Pat Gillick and retires on that, great, that's cool too. Hopefully we'll that's why he hired Sam Fuld to that role, because he thinks he can groom him into that role and say, okay, at some point you take over because I'm going to be 70 years old or whatever at some point, 65, getting older, whatever the deal is, and I'm going to want to step away from this role if we have the success that we plan on having. And that's not a bad thing.
He's waiting for that.
To watch a guy have success and then pass the torch, right? Like that's what good organizations do in a lot of sports is, hey, we won with this guy running the organization. Now, I'm done, and it's this guy's time to take over. We haven't had that in Philly sports in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, with what the Eagles have going on, despite the fact that they've won a Super Bowl within the last 5 years, they could very well lose that popularity because of what's going on with the other three franchises in the city right now.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be a blow to Jeffrey Lurie? Maybe that would wake his ass up.
I mean, listen, before Carson Wentz and everything like that, when everything was going on with Chip Kelly, it was a real conversation. And people tend to forget that run that the Phillies had there in the early 2000s to about 2012. It wasn't a question of yes, this town loves football, but the Phillies owned this town. With an iron fist, it wasn't a question, my friend.
Right, like when you got to like 2010, 2011, 2012, all of a sudden we saw the Eagles.
It started switching
a little bit, and the Phillies, like that was the it team, that was the it spot to be. You talk about CBP in the summertime, yeah. I mean that was it wasn't just like. You were just watching it. It was a hangout spot, right? Like you were there, 45,000 people.
Listen, it was summertime in Philadelphia during that time. It was party time there, Citizens Bank Park. That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how COVID plays into all that. Obviously, there's going to be that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think we're going to see full stadiums yet. I think we may see a raised capacity. From what we've seen in the NFL this season. Just in my opinion, but
if the vibe, like you're talking about, starts swinging back from the Eagles towards the Phillies again, where like people in the city.
Well, no, like listen, man,
than the Eagles.
I love football. I love my Eagles, but I'll tell you this much right now: that if the Phillies are able to pull this off, and what the Flyers have done over the past 2 seasons, and what the Sixers are in the midst of doing right now, it won't take much to supplant them as favored in this city.
And Laurie's always proven, hasn't he? He's always proven that, like,
well, no, that's
he
when
has to be the top thing, right? Like,
but
no matter
that's
what
the only time he did,
what the other teams
and
do.
that's the other thing. Go back to him being a snake. That's the only time he takes action. If you notice, is when that is being threatened.
Yes, like, oh, the tension all of a sudden is on all the other organizations in the city, and we've got to reestablish the fact that we're top dog. And then all of a sudden, that's when he steps up and makes a move. And we've seen him do that enough, over his years as owner to know it's his MO, to know that, it's happened before, it'll happen again, sort of thing, right? And has there ever been a time where, trying to think, like the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, all three of them were good while the Eagles were bad, while Lurie's been the owner of the Eagles? I know it's been a time where at least two of the three have been good, but I don't know if I can think of a time where all three, the Phillies, the Sixers, and the Flyers were all, like, you would look at them and say, yeah, they're a better organization than the Eagles right now. And you would literally rank the Eagles fourth out of the four teams in the city. That's probably never happened in Lurie's 25 plus years of ownership. It's not far off from happening, right? Like, you get one more disaster of a year next year. Like, you go 4-12 again next year.
Well, no, like I said, since he's had it for the majority of the time. But like I said, that during that Phillies run, he definitely didn't have it. And
no, but he wasn't
that
like
young. I'm telling you, that young Flyers team, and if you put Bryce on top of it, could very well push that very well through it. And Joel Embiid himself can't do it. The Sixers, I don't think, will ever surpass the Eagles in that aspect. But
but if they go
winning cures everything, don't it?
Eagles suck, people will at least get excited for that 1 year. You know what I mean? Like, if the Sixers, it's like we did that when AI took us to the finals against the Lakers, right? Like, there was no, like, we didn't, like, that was the biggest thing we gave a fuck about in all of Philly sports that year. Like, that was, hey, like, right now, that's all we give a fuck about. The Sixers are going to go do something special here. It had everybody's attention. I remember being a little kid. It had my attention.
That 01 team was the underdog of all underdogs that made it to an NBA Finals. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Oh, absolutely. Why? And they're on their way to being the fourth team. So, they're working.
And like I said,
I love it. And put it out there. Don't even, there's no maybe about it. Hell yeah, put it out there. It's going to happen. They're on their way to being that team.
I mean, I already said they deserve this. They deserve this. The question is who do the Philly fans gravitate towards? And if you're putting a gun to my head and asking me right now, I would probably say the Flyers.
Yeah,
as much as this is a basketball town more than anything, I would still say the Flyers.
Tommy might not agree because I know Tommy's more of a basketball guy, and I'll speak as somebody that's obviously not even like a huge hockey guy. But I do know, like, the rabid nature of the hockey fans in Philadelphia. If you give them a chance to jump behind the Flyers. I didn't necessarily say that we're a baseball town.
I just said during that time period when they were on that run that they were the most popular team in town, regardless of what the Eagles were doing or anyone else.
This city fell in love with that Flyers team that made the run to the Stanley Cup in 2010 or whatever it was, that came back against the Bruins from 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean,
I'll never forget that Danny Briere run. That run made Danny Briere a legend.
So with same type of stuff we're talking about with that the 01 Sixers team, right? Like this, like, we've seen it with this fan. Like, if there's they'll always be excited, but if you give them, all of a sudden we think we have a legitimate shot to win a championship. It's not like it's just a bunch of casual fans. The hardcore, diehard fans of this city show up from each of those fan bases, and it's you almost can't go wrong in any of the environment. Like, yeah, CBP's the hangout spot, but like if you're at like a packed Wells Fargo Center for a hockey game or for a Flyers game or a Sixers game, when they're playing well, like when they're good and there's peak level excitement, that's a popping environment to be in too. It's not like
that's not how I'll ask you guys. If you had to pick which stadium you wanted to be at its peak, at Citizens Bank Park, Lincoln Financial Field, or Wells Fargo Center, which one you want to be at its craziest?
It's always CBP, but CBP was designed that way. It was designed for you to show up and not even have to watch the baseball game. Like, you can go sit at the bar for fucking 6 hours if you want and get shit hammered, and not have to worry about it. Eat your burgers, your wings, your fries. Like, there was so much other shit going on at CBP it made it possible for you to, the game sucks. All of a sudden we're losing 10-2 and you want to go find something else to do. You could. You didn't have to leave.
No, true. I mean, Citizens Bank Park, to me, I mean, I've witnessed something great happen there live in the stadium, and I've witnessed stuff great happen in Lincoln Financial too. But yeah, something about Citizens Bank Park and this city when baseball's rocking too. It's a baseball city. It's a basketball city. It's a hockey city. It really is.
That's I think what people don't get about it is we are fluent in all the four major sports. Like if you had to say it, like when you look at like both college and pro level sports, you would have to say it's one thing more than another. Probably be basketball, wouldn't you say? The college sports turns it over to basketball, in my opinion. If you had to clarify a sport to a city,
that might not be a bad point. I mean, if you might want to separate it though in like an area like Philadelphia, and even a lot of areas in the Northeast where you've got pro sports and then kind of like your amateur sports, and like you've got to separate it for those reasons because there are people that are loyal.
Yeah, but if everything goes the way, goes the way it's supposed to over the next handful of years, there isn't going to be no separation between pro and amateur sports because they're all going to get paid for it.
Let's be honest, they've been getting paid for it for a long time, and I mean, whatever. Players should have been getting paid at the college level in some way, shape, or form, right? Like when you talk about the idea of like not being able to go sell a jersey that's got your number, your name on it, and you can't autograph it and then sell it to somebody for $10,000 if you want to. They're willing to pay you $10,000 for that fucking jersey that you just autographed. Why shouldn't you be able to sell it as an 18-year-old kid and make some money? And say, well, he's going to step in and say, fuck you? No, I mean, it's ridiculous, and it always has been. It's a way to control, athletes. So, I mean, it should have ended a long time ago. I think we've seen the writing on the wall for a long time now. So much overdue and good. When it happens, I think that takes care of all this the dirty, underhanded, underground nonsense that you see with. We talk about the agents and the shoe, the shoe people, the shoe executives and all that, the sneaker executives and trying to sign
blue chip all over again, right?
All that shit gets taken care of real quick once you're paying players instead of having to worry about that nonsense.
You just got to watch blue chips if you're having any questions.
I've seen blue chips, yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal blue chips.
Love me some blue chips. Speaking of blue chips, I'm going to go eat some food, boys. Thanks for having me. I know you got a guest coming up at 5:35, so wasn't going to stay too long. I just wanted to hang out a little bit and
have some fun with us. You're always welcome, my friend.
There's shenanigans on this show. Always shenanigans.
I'll take these shenanigans and go eat a cheesesteak. So
have fun, my friend. Cheesesteak it up.
Let's go, Ram. Later, boys.
Yeah, speaking of which, it's 3-3 already, man. Like I said, slow.
When Tom is the most sane person on the show, like it's just absolute insanity. Like it's off the rails when Tom's the guy that's like the voice of reason and the most sane person, It is.
But any more baseball stuff? I know it's been a few weeks since we've been able to kind of talk about
it. I think the big name to watch this year for us, we obviously got the pitcher, Spencer Howard or whatever his name is, right? The young stud that we've got coming up through the system. That if everything goes well, he's the top of the rotation arm, right? Everything goes bad, and he's just another guy that we've seen this story before. Hey, Gavin Floyd, right? Like, we've watched that story play out enough times. We're like, oh, this guy's going to be awesome, and then he's just not. But if he ends up being, what we hope he can be, all of a sudden this rotation, once again, looks pretty damn good. Remember when Cole Hamels came up at 06 and had that impact right away? Like, it wasn't like it took time. Like, he had that impact right away as the top of a rotation arm. You've already got Nolan and Wheeler. If a guy like Howard can step in and right away has an impact where he's not just, this guy looks like he could be special at some point. He's effective now, getting guys out, pitching deep into baseball games, things like that. You've got a 1-2-3 combination at the top of your rotation that is much, much better than it was a year ago. Way better than it was a year ago.
Just get Velasquez out of there. Just get Velasquez out of there.
We've already made an acquisition in the bullpen, right?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that. I know, we were already talking about the arms costing us games. We made I don't even remember the kid's name. It was within the last 2 days. So we got another arm.
Yeah.
obviously it's something we have to continue to get better at is keep that arm, those reliever arms fresh and good.
What I like about him more than anything else, Steven, he's a guy that's a former starter in Arizona, and not just a starter. He had some success as a starter. Now he's a little bit later into his career, so okay, switch to the bullpen. Helps extend your career, right? So he's not just a guy that's going to get you 1 inning and now he's out. Like he can go 2, 3, maybe even 4 innings for you. Now he's not necessarily a long relief guy either, right? He can pitch all over for you in that bullpen, but he could come in and pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, or pitch the 7th and the 8th to get you to your closer in the 9th. Like for me, he's a guy that what makes him so valuable as a signing to this bullpen is because of all the different roles that he can fill. And we didn't really have any guy in this bullpen that you looked at and said, yeah, consistent, trust that guy, right? Like not one. This is a guy that, hey, if you need him to go 3 innings, he can do that for you. You need him to just be, go get 1 inning and be Ryan Madsen and get you to close in the 8th, he'll do that. He might even be able to close for you. I don't know. But I know that the guy's got enough versatility in my bullpen where he's not just going to be in one role. And we really need that right now because we don't have any other bullpen arms outside of him. It's almost like he needs to be able to do a lot of different things coming out of that.
Yeah, nothing against the guy, but obviously all the pressure is gonna be on him. That you're brought in to kind of fill this role, and you not only have to fill this role, you can't fail because a lot of it riding on him being successful this season.
I'm sure they'll make some other moves and shit.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Obviously,
but he's I think people are just like, oh, okay, great, we signed a bullpen guy. Like, I think at the end of the year, he could be a guy you look at and be like, wow, what a signing this was by Dombrowski. He really does have that type of ability for you to be able to pitch all over in a bullpen that was the worst in baseball, and not just the worst in baseball, one of the worst in baseball history, right? Like it wasn't just like it was one of the worst in baseball. Like, it was one of the worst bullpens in baseball history. So, great. I couldn't be happier for a guy like that to be, I didn't really go out and say that you don't really ever pinpoint or circle a guy. You're like, yeah, that we need to sign this bullpen arm this offseason, right? But you just hope that there's solid guys. Yeah, you need to add some solid arms into your bullpen. This is as solid as you can get when you talk about bullpen arms go. It's not just, you got to hope this guy has a bounce back year. That's a lot of times when you bring in a bullpen arm, right? Like that's what it is. Like we signed Tom Gordon 15 years ago, right? After he came off of arm issues with the Yankees, he was 38. We made him our closer again. And it worked out for a couple years. Brad Bridge, after he got smoked by Albert Pujols in the playoffs, right now we trade him and bring him in. Now he's our closer here. Great, it works out. But those are the Papelbon. After it flames out in Boston, you got to bring him in here.
That ended badly.
Those are the types of things you end up having to do, right? Like, I don't want to have to be in that position again. Like, please, don't put me in that spot, I like a solid signing like this.
Green Bay about to punch it in.
Yeah. Well, and this is when we talked about controlling the clock. We moved on. We could have talked about it all day, obviously, if we wanted to. But Green Bay, I mean, it's not. Like Green Bay can run the ball too, right? Like Green Bay, like we talk about like Los Angeles' defense being able to keep it close, but. What if Green Bay just we've seen them run the ball 40 times and only have Aaron Rodgers throw it 25 and then just go and kick somebody's ass? This idea, they're going to slow down Aaron Rodgers. Well, in order for them to do that, and that game plan to be effective,
touchdown Devontae Adams.
That's where Green Bay's really changed. Yeah, that was well designed pre-snap. Look, Ramsey's pissed. Somebody was supposed to help him out and they didn't.
Yeah, because he was. If you've seen it, he was motioning from one side to the other. So he's going on that side. I guess lines up, and then he comes back over. And what happened here? Just
go this way now. Watch. So somebody's supposed to switch. It looks like, or somebody got in his way.
I just don't think he.
The safety got in his way. He was trying to undercut, and that's why it's well designed. Yeah, I don't know why he's mad at anybody else. I mean, it's just a great design play, but
that hurts his numbers. It looks like it's starting to snow in Green Bay.
What's changed about Green Bay this year as opposed to started last year, but what's changed with them more than any other time since Aaron Rodgers has been there is the fact that they have a legitimate running game now, right? Like they can play legitimate smash mouth football and run the ball down your throat if they want to. It might not be like how they want it designed, but if they have to, And if it's working and it's like they can just do it all game long, and they've shown it with Jones. And now it's more than just Jones. They've got A.J. Dillon, obviously, that came in, that they drafted from Boston College. So they've got, a couple different guys that can do it now for them. That helps extend a quarterback's career too, right? Like, hey, they got a couple different guys who can run the football. They got a really good defense now. And, yeah, he can still swing it 50 times if he needs to. But wouldn't you just love to be Aaron Rodgers and sit back there, throw the ball 25 to 30 times, let your defense dominate, and let your running backs, punch everybody in the mouth for 3/4 of the football game and go high-five everybody in the locker room afterwards? Hey, thanks, boys. Way to make my job easy at 30 whatever years old I am now, I think 10 years ago, Rodgers still wanted to be the guy that was like, hey, let me throw the ball and let me carry the offense on my back. He doesn't want to be that guy now. He knows he can't be that guy now. And they've got the most complete football team around him that I think they've ever
I missed that one from Don. I forgot about that one. Back when we were talking about the paid athletes.
Well, he was a multimillionaire.
Yeah, and it cost.
Let's be honest.
It cost USC a lot.
But that's my point. That's the fucked up thing about it. Like, none of that should have ever been an issue. Like, the fact that somebody, like you talked about the blue chips movie, like the fact that somebody from USC bought Reggie Bush's mom a home in San Diego and there was some car, like, who gives a fuck? Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, first of all, let's be honest, when they were, like,
they were probably bigger stars at that time than anyone than half the guys that were in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean that little run there with USC with Pete Carroll that ended with them losing to Vince Young in the Rose Bowl with Texas. I mean, those guys were superstars. Like, forget about the idea, they're college athletes. Fuck that. Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush were more than just like college athletes or like athletes in general. I mean, they were like phenomenons, like, countrywide, like people knew who they were. They were rock stars, put it that way. You know what I mean? Like rock stars in the sense that, like, no matter where they went, they could show up at the ESPYs, they could show up at a club, they could show up anywhere, and people knew who Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush were. They were a big fucking deal. So this idea that, we're like, I can't believe they were making money. Are you kidding me right now? You really think Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush are fucking staying at USC to come back and lose to Vince Young?
Jalen Ramsey is still on the sideline snapping out.
Well, that's what he does. But see, as I said, he's worth. See, this is all the shenanigans I was talking about. He's worth all this. He's such a good player. He's worth all that. Just like
him and his coach are sitting there go and the tablet going over it. He's sitting there explaining.
Deion Sanders was that way. Remember, like Deion and all the shit. But like there was nobody better than Deion Sanders at the quarterback position. He could shut you down.
Yep.
He was the missing piece for that 49ers team that won the Super Bowl, right, in the mid-'90s.
Yeah. That was a crazy time because then after that he went to Dallas and then
went to Dallas. Before that he was in Atlanta. He was fun to watch.
Once he went to Dallas I had to hate him. It just I couldn't give him the love that I once had for him anymore.
By that point you were just like like Deion, like what Jesus. Yeah, this guy,
I thought I was a big Deion. Dude, how could you have been like a young kid at that time and not been a fan of Deion Sanders?
Deion, I remember being a little kid. Deion Sanders was one of the first football players I ever knew of. That's how big of a deal it was. He was, at that time, he was in the mid-'90s. He had probably just transitioned from San Francisco to the Cowboys, and you knew he was a legend. You knew he was a fucking, all-pro player. And as much as you're like, Deion Sanders, he plays for the Cowboys, can't stand that guy, but you knew he was really fucking good. You know what I mean? Like it's
no, it wasn't really good. Dude,
Deion Sanders is fucking good.
Yeah, and they were all trying to get him. Awesome. They were trying to get him at wide receiver and everything, man.
They did. They started getting him the football that way. Yeah.
And they just got the golf.
Yeah. Well, see, this is what I was talking about with like being Los Angeles. Like Green Bay's defense, I think, is better than Seattle. Seattle, has had a lot of issues with their defense for years now since the Legion of Boom, got split up. Not that Green Bay's defense is all pro, but they've got some.
Greg would have really been a miss at this point in time. Would have been. So was that 2 seasons ago? He's been there 2 years now, right?
Yeah, they made that trade last year in 2019. No, Greg, I'm with you. Greg, to be honest, because he says I don't think anyone ever questioned how good Ramsey was, but just questioned how he was going to give up what it was going to cost to get him.
That's what I was saying. I was trying to figure it out.
He got traded there. He got traded there like October of 2019. So he's been there He started the year with Jacksonville last year in 2019, got traded to Los Angeles halfway through the year, and then he spent all of this year there with them. But we were talking about them trading.
All we would have missed
Ramsey.
out was we wouldn't have been able to draft Jalen Reagor and probably wound up with
yeah, we would have traded our first round pick,
and we wouldn't have had Jalen Hurts.
And maybe this year's first round. I don't know, but whatever the case was, I went on the record at the time, Greg, is saying that at the time I felt like it was worth giving up whatever you had to give up from a draft capital perspective to get Jalen Ramsey, because he was probably a guy that could come in, and it's not just, it's a guy that fills a hole. Yeah, we needed cornerbacks. No, this is a guy that's a franchise-changing player, and he can mask and hide a lot of other deficiencies that you have. And I was 100% on board with having to give up 2 first-round picks or whatever it might be to get the guy, because I think he changes around your organization that much. I think the bigger deal was more like, if you traded for him, how the hell were you going to give him an extension? I mean, whose money were they using? Steven? I mean, me? I mean, Tommy? I mean, they were hitting us all up for loans at some point. Greg? I mean, we knew the type of financial cap hell we were going into, and there was no way you were going to make the trade for a guy like that and say, okay, all of a sudden now we can sign you to a 5-year extension and make you the highest paid quarterback in football. I think that was the bigger issue. But
now, the other thing is that, everyone's talking about Deshaun Watson as being a guy on the trading block. I totally forgot to ask you. Rumor has it that Julio Jones is on the trading block down there in Atlanta, that they're going to try to
trade for anybody. Like this idea.
Well, but I'm not sitting there saying us in general, but this is going to be another one of these situations where the fans are going to murder them for a move they can't make.
Yeah, I don't know if they trade Julio anymore with Arthur Smith there. I think they look at that situation and think they might have, they've got to give it maybe one more run with Matt Ryan and all that, see if they can fix that. Because, Arthur Smith was the guy I wanted, right? That was my guy. I wanted him to come in here and fix Carson Wentz the same way he fixed Ryan Tannehill. And, obviously Derrick Henry helps that situation. But if there was a guy that you were going to say, hey, who's a guy you're willing to take a shot on if you fire Peterson, I really liked Arthur Smith. I love Mike Vrabel. I think Vrabel's one of the best coaches in football. So I like the idea of somebody from his coaching tree. And obviously you can't argue with the results of what you've seen from that Tennessee offense. So, yeah, Smith was my guy. Whether it was ever realistic or not, I don't know. But I think Atlanta looks at it and says, yeah, we've got all this talent. This guy's a really, really sharp offensive mind. Look at all the great stuff he did in Tennessee with Tannehill and A.J. Brown's there. And they've got Corey Davis, right, and Derrick Henry, and the tight ends there. They got all these other offensive weapons. Like, yeah, why not try to hold on to what they have, and instead of blowing everything up, at least see if you can get something out of it this year. Now, okay, if you're 8-8 again next year, all right, well then you make that trade, because now you're going into year 2 with your new head coach, and okay, now it's time to start over. But I don't. They might make one more run with him. Like, they really might, just because I don't know if it makes sense for them.
Obviously, it's just conjecture and talk, off-season stuff. Could also just be,
Well, I think Atlanta
agents posturing to try to see ways to market, just to see what they would have to do to get themselves out of there. That could be the other side of that too.
Atlanta, maybe for a little bit there after firing Dan Quinn, had no idea what direction they were going to go in. Who knows what we're going to do, type of thing. And so anything was a possibility. Trading Julio Jones, trading Matt Ryan.
Speaking of directions, right? I think we, before we get Sam on here real quick, change gears up real fast. And, obviously the Sixers had a nice little win last night. Got the heat out of there. Shake looked good. They get a triple-double from Ben last night. And I believe tonight, I think it's at 8, we play the Grizzlies. We've seen the hot, we've seen the cold from the Sixers through the first, a little bit past a month now, I think it is. What are your initial thoughts? And, I guess, let's get into this matchup tonight against the Grizzlies. No job.
We should have traded Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, 2 first-round picks, a new elliptical machine, and I don't know who else can we throw in there. Shake Milton and an athletic trainer to bring James Harden here.
No.
I'm just trolling.
I know.
It's this dude. It's so fucking early in the season. Like, I really don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know. I mean, like, yeah, we're all excited. Doc Rivers is here. Great. This is what it was supposed to be. We're supposed to come out and start looking different and looking better and seeing like we're going in a different direction. Like, great. This is what I expected. It's what I anticipated. I'm glad it's all going according to plan. Outside of that, it's so fucking early in the season. I literally don't care.
So obviously, you're trolling. So thoughts on the Harden trade, and now the fact that they're back to 2 superstars, not 3, because Kyrie took his ball, doesn't want to play no more.
Brooklyn, I mean, Jesus Christ! Like, not only they gave up their draft capital of the future, they gave up their entire depth. You know, guys like Chris LeVert that are just like really guys that are solid players.
A guy who made us look pretty bad a few weeks ago.
Guys just give you so much depth, and even if he's a bench player, like, yeah, that's a 6th man of the year award type guy. Like, you need, like guys like that on your basketball team to just sit there and say, yeah, fuck that, and now we're going to roll with Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and can you name somebody else on that team now? Because I can't. Like, see how that worked. See how you just went from having like 6 or solid, really, 2 superstars and like 7 solid players to 3 superstars, an equipment manager, a ball boy, a laundry guy, an athletic trainer, and a partridge in the pear tree out there. As a part. I'm obviously just trying to be funny, but like, you see what I'm saying? Like, how do you look at this situation? It's like, let's just give up our entire depth, the next 2 years of first-round picks. The whole thing's just laughable. But, I mean, whatever. I guess, what are you going to do? That's today's NBA.
It is today's NBA, and, they're also in a situation, but they could also get that back if Kyrie really doesn't want to play there. So
Kyrie doesn't want to play basketball at all. Kyrie's more interested in going to prove to everybody that the earth is flat. And, that LeBron can't make clutch shots, and that's why he had to be, LeBron's teammate in Cleveland when they won a championship. Was that not even crazier than Kyrie's fucking flat earth theory was the idea when he came out and talked about how, like, LeBron needed him because LeBron wasn't clutch, so he needed a guy like Kyrie to, be able to, like, pick him up in those clutch times and shit. This guy is smoking some of the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life, and I've smoked some funny shit in my time. This guy's got, this dude gives me a Dave Chappelle, Ricky Williams type feel. Like, this dude is basketball. He wants to move to Africa, smoke weed, and like just like completely remove himself from society. Like, it's got that type of feel for me. Like, he seems like a guy that, like, Chappelle was on top of the world, right? Ricky Williams was on top of the world. Like, they were 2 of the biggest superstars that you could imagine in their respective fields. And then they're just like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And they find a way out. We're like, oh, they're going crazy. They're not going crazy. They just went out of their current situation. Right? Like, Ricky Williams did that shit. And we're just like, what's wrong with Ricky Williams? Nothing. He just went the fuck out of his current situation. Right? And the next thing you know, he retired from football. We didn't know where the hell he was. And then 3 years later, all of a sudden, we hear him coming back, and there was these, stories of him smoking weed and, finding, different religions and yoga and all this shit. He's like, just like, whatever. Like, this guy, like, what's he, a Buddhist now? All of a sudden, like, you didn't know what to think. You're just hearing all types of crazy stories. And, it's like what seems like one of those stories. I'm telling you. Like, in 2 years when we're having this conversation, remember we did it live and bookmark it because, like, he's got that type of feel for me. The dude's got all this money. He's got a platform that gives him the ability to say whatever the hell he wants. And the guy was probably already a little out there to begin with. Let's be honest. You don't think the earth's flat unless you're out there. And he went to Duke University. So, he's just a guy like, how committed is he really to basketball, or is he just more committed to the idea
Well,
that
talking on that level, Ben Simmons is not exactly on firm ground here in Philadelphia.
Well, yeah, but Ben Simmons doesn't come out with crazy nonsense like this, but
no, not even the same vicinity, but he
does
does.
Ben Simmons,
He is a little
like the idea of
quirky, and
basketball?
he does disappear on the court at the worst times.
Yeah. Does he like I said, does he love basketball, or does he love what basketball gives him? Right? Maybe are you committed to basketball, or are you just committed to the lifestyle of what being a professional basketball player
There's
gives?
the question.
Right? And that's Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, we could ask the same question about both of them. Maybe being a basketball player isn't their main concern, but they sure as hell love the lifestyle that comes with being a pro basketball player.
I didn't say it. You did, sir.
Well, I mean, listen. I mean, is it not? I mean, I don't even think that's controversial at this point. Like we've seen again, Ricky Williams, right? I mean, we've seen that story before with plenty of athletes. And I mean, Ricky Williams is an extreme example. There's plenty of other examples of just guys that are just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm just tired of this, and they retire early or whatever the case might be. Megatron retired early, right? For whatever reason he can give.
Probably one of the stranger ones.
Didn't want to be a part of a shitty organization. Okay, well, I can buy that, but it's still strange.
You signed the contract.
You're right in the prime of your career, sort of thing. We've seen. You can't tell me that situations like that. That we haven't seen athletes that check out and things like that happen, and it has to do with the fact that they're just not committed to the sport itself the way that they once were. But it's really hard to just walk away from the lifestyle at that point. You know what I mean? It just is. You can't walk away from your $20 million mansion and your sports cars and all that. At least not overnight. It can't just happen like that, right? Certain guys have been able to give all that up and just okay, say fuck it and it's over. But we've seen a lot of other athletes almost go crazy, for lack of a better word, with having all of that, all the money, all the fame, all the girls, all the power, all this attention, right? Like we've seen plenty of stories of guys that just completely crash and burn. Johnny Manziel comes to mind, right?
And speaking of what you were speaking with, we had guys fighting tonight. Carlos Condit, he stepped away for almost 2 years.
Sure.
Comes back tonight. Greg was just talking about it. Had me had to go peep that up real quick. Had a nice return. I think he came back fairly soon, but it wasn't like retirement due to whatever. It was injuries, and then after the injuries clears up, he's back. But like you have some of these cases where these guys walk away, whether it's injuries, whether it's desire, whether it's being part of paid organizations. I mean, you don't know when your time's up as a pro athlete, and that's why
we just watched Rob Gronkowski go through that, didn't we? I mean, literally, the guy retired from the Patriots, goes in and wrestles in the WWE. We see him at WrestleMania and shit like that.
Was that wrestling, or was he just a name and a face that they put in there?
I mean, he was in quite a few wrestling matches and shit.
Yeah, but was he actually wrestling or what? Come on,
one of the championship belts.
I mean, he's absolutely nothing either.
Well, still, I mean, the guy. Well, I mean, listen, they trained him enough to the point where, like, he knew what he was doing in there, type of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, Gronkowski obviously had the natural sports entertainer type personality, but it wasn't like they just threw him in there and said, "Hey, good luck." Like, no, I mean, he spent enough time training up and all that. Where yeah, we could then you can hold your own in the ring, type of thing. The guy probably couldn't just walk away from football and do nothing. I think that's more the reason why he joined the WWE. It's just something to do, right? It's something to keep him and he's a great entertainer, and it's the perfect world to be, great. I can go be an entertainer, which is what I do best. But as soon as the right football
we could put this Rams thing to bed.
I just there you go, running into the corner of the end zone, right? But as soon as the right football opportunity brought itself back up for Gronkowski in Tampa with Tom Brady, he immediately is, oh, great. It's amazing. It's amazing how quickly he recommitted the football when a good situation comes about, right? Like, that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? Like, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. The guy just got tired. That was a really good pump fake by Roger.
I don't know. I don't think that was planned.
No, well, that whole thing on the extra point definitely wasn't planned.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That was nice to get Floyd up in the air.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that's probably the most recent example. If we can try to like stay as recent as possible, is a guy like Gronkowski just had enough of everything. You know, injuries were part of it, sure, but just had enough of everything, right? And he's even joked about the situation where he almost got traded to the Lions, and then he told the league, "Well, I'm retired. I can't get traded to the Lions. I'm retired. What do you mean?" So he ended up avoiding a trade to the Lions, and then the very next year unretired and came back and played for the Patriots again. But the point is, like, that's an example of a guy that is exactly what we're talking about. Just had enough of the whole playing football, burn out, a little bit mentally fatigued, takes a step away from it, goes, does something else, and now he's back and he's playing at a high level again.
Hey, man, you have a small window to take advantage of it, and then we're still sitting there, as we're just talking about the UFC. Khabib's waiting to see what happens tonight, and if he's impressed enough, if somebody shows him something, he'll come out of retirement.
Well, Connor said.
I'm telling you right now, the only way he coming out is if Connor wins that fight.
Yeah. But Conor McGregor said that
they've already put it to bed. There's no chance that he's going to fight George St. Pierre. You take that off the table, it leaves one option. There's only one fight out there left for him in that sense that makes sense, and the money wise and everything like that. So, thanks for having us hype us up for nothing, because we knew this is exactly what was going to happen. But it goes back to the other thing, like should we be happy to the fact that promoters are still badgering some of these athletes to continue to compete, regardless of he's one of these cases where he's young enough where he's not hurting himself or anything like that. But
that's a great point, though, because boxing and MMA, and especially is one of the examples of one of those sports that we've seen time and time again throughout all the years. Sugar Ray Leonard was a guy that stepped away how many different times and then came back and won championships and retired again, right? Like, I mean, it just guys get to it, and I need to take a break for a little bit. They take a break, and then they come back because they get the hunger and the fire again. But they wouldn't have gotten that fire again unless they took a step away, because the fire went out at one point, and they just needed to take a step away from it because the fire was no longer there. Boxing and MMA now, as MMA's transitioned a lot more mainstream than it ever was, another great example of a sport where just, you've got a small window, but it's not uncommon for a guy to take a year away from the sport or whatever, get his head straight, and then come back and feel like he's stronger than ever.
Well, MMA is more common that they take a year away just because of injuries and inactivity, stuff like that. And then now, and that's the other thing. Rachel was touching on it last night, but also want to talk to you about this. That the USA anti-doping is no longer going to test for marijuana. But from what I've heard from some of the fighters, that there's still some language in it that it can't be, you can't be sitting there saying like it's used for pain or depression or anything like that. You couldn't
be stoned at the time of the fight, so like literally.
I think that's one of the things. Unless you're walking, stumbling around, and you're like visibly high, that you're not gonna be tested.
Like they don't give a fuck that you smoked weed 2 or 3 days before. They just don't want you like hitting the blunt like. 30 minutes before the fight, walking into the ring, and now all of a sudden I'm stoned and I'm relaxed.
Man,
okay, that's understandable.
I still think that UFC fans deserve to see Nick and Nate both walk down to the cage smoking an L right before they fight.
No. See, it's not smoking an L. They need now. I mean, if we want to be honest and get the most out of these fights, if we're just being honest, we're all grown men here. I don't think there's any children listening. They need to be bumping a couple lines before a fight and get in there and go, Shamrock.
That's what they used to do back in the day.
I know that's what they used to do back in the day, but that's why you used to have the fights, and the reaction the way you did. You had guys like Ken Shamrock ready to kill each other, They looked like they were ready to tear somebody's head off because they were. You get punched in the face high on cocaine. You don't give a fuck, right, Steven? I mean, not that we know from experience. I'm just saying. I heard it from somebody, a friend of a friend of a friend who's very reliable. But like, it's much easier to not feel pain all of a sudden under the influence of narcotics of that kind. Or so I've been told, right? Like.
Shoot Sam a message.
We talked about Dave Chappelle earlier, right? It's like, cocaine's a hell of a drug, right? the Charlie Murphy scene or whatever. Well, and listen, we could joke about it and try to make it funny, but John Bones Jones obviously had a huge problem with cocaine for a while, and it's failed multiple drug tests for it, right? So, we could.
But that's the other thing about that. Like, all right, now that that is done, that we all seen the damage that John self-inflictedly done to himself. Pat Miletich kind of feels like you've already kind of done it. It's in the past. It was illegal at the time. It is what it is. But a lot of these guys, lost wages, have fights overturned to either, wins to no contest, etc. So
I'm of the belief, though, as I am with like all these sports, that I don't think Bones Jones was the only one snorting cocaine. I just think he was the only one stupid enough to get caught doing it. You know what I mean? Type of thing. Like, hey, maybe you should just get your, everybody else seems to have a system.
But now here's the other thing. Like
yours sucks.
Like,
so.
Why should we be concerned with what he's doing to his body, to himself on his own personal? You've never once ever heard me rip John Bones Jones because of the cocaine thing. I've always defended him over it, actually. And in my mind, he's still the greatest pound for pound MMA fighter of all time. And here's something I'm going to have to. As a casual MMA fan, hold on, because I'll say that as somebody that when you talk about what brought my attention to the sport. Well, obviously, because that's what brought you into the sport, obviously. Yeah.
Jones is a guy that intrigued me more, and I watched more intensely than any other fighter in the history of UFC. I would go out of my way to watch a John Bones Jones fight. I knew that Tito Ortiz was a legend. I knew Chuck Liddell was a legend. Anderson Silva. I knew guys like that. They're all legends, but none of them drew me to the sport the way that John Bones Jones did. And then Conor McGregor is the only other guy that's drawn me to the sport in that way.
Oh, if anyone you shouldn't want to watch it's Conor, just because of his outside of the cage antics are way worse than John's ever was.
Part of what drew me with him is the fact that he's such a showman. The charisma, the ability to talk. I like that. I love that about Ali. I love that about Mike Tyson. I'd like in the sport of professional fighting, whether it's boxing, MMA, any of that, I like a guy that's got that swag, that mox, the ability to kind of talk a little bit and then back it up. I like that in a fighter. Those are my guys. They draw me in. The guys that are able to talk and then also back it up in the ring. Those are the ones that draw me in more than anybody else.
Hey man, you have to like the guy that can entertain you on top of just being able to.
I'm not watching the MMA fight going, wow, that was a great elbow tie up that what a great side headlock that
man, was. We gotta teach you up, Zach. We gotta teach.
Yeah, man, I'm just saying, I'm not watching the MMA fight looking at what a great side headlock that was, right? Or anything like that. I'm not looking at it like that. Oh, great triangle choke. Look at the form. I don't know. I couldn't tell the difference between a great form on a triangle choke and just average form. I don't know the difference. That's not my thing. I can go watch. I'll watch a fight with somebody like you that can be like, hey, and point those things out to me. But I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm the guy that's watching the fight. That's like, oh yeah, what a great triangle choke that was. That's why I like this guy. I'll take your word for it if you're telling me he's got a great triangle choke or whatever, obviously Ronda Rousey's, submission move, all that. Yeah, great. I don't have to understand, form to understand. Yeah, wow, she's putting people in a lot of pain and doing a hurt with that.
Don't worry, man. Like I said, brother, don't worry. We'll get you learned up from a newbie to somebody who can actually, follow through. Yeah.
Ronda was another one. You asked me why I like Ronda. Of course, Ronda was badass in the octagon for a little bit, right before she got her ass kicked and then lost, nobody was scared of her anymore. But when she was first coming up, she had the ability to talk and then the ability to kick your ass, and she could pair them up and combine them and do both. I love that,
I just think
I remember about Ronda Rousey was her interview where they asked her, what do you do to prepare for fights? And she says, I have lots of sex. And you're like, how can I not like her? How can I not watch her fight all of a sudden? She'll say anything. And she can kick somebody's ass. She don't give a fuck what she says in the media, and she'll kick your ass afterwards. Ooh, gotta watch her.
I mean, I just think she was just uniquely good at being able to get people down and pull the armbar off. The thing is that people eventually gotten to the point where they could break her game down, and I think her other problem is that she fell in love with her hands. She fell in love with her hands.
She wanted to prove that she could be a striker when she just can't.
Everyone started throwing at her that she was a one-trick pony. Like, listen, I don't care. Listen, if I'm a fighter, listen. I may be a one-trick pony, but my one trick will beat your whole tool belt.
If I'm winning every single fight by breaking your arm in half, you know what I mean? I'm going to keep breaking your arm in half.
I just think that was
until you prove you can stop it.
The Ronda Rousey era was just a fun time, a special time in MMA. From the women empowerment to just watching them. Just watching them take over the sport.
Did it not remind you? Did it not remind, like, she was on, like, such a superstar on the rise type of level. Like, it almost was like watching Mike Tyson come on his rise initially, right? Like,
yeah, because you had a lot of those people that were having that because she had that whole fear factor to it and everything like that.
The fear factor, and then after she got beat for the first time, right? After she got beat for the first time. Just like after Tyson got beat for the first time, it was almost like it like up until that point, everybody looked at them and was like, wow, like this person, they're scary, they're intimidating, they're invincible. And then once Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, it was like, oh, Mike Tyson's not invincible. He's just another guy. Once Ronda Rousey got her ass kicked and somebody proved
it wasn't just that. It's just like Mike fought a lot more where you had a lot more tape on him. It wasn't just the breaking of that. It wasn't just the breaking of the auras. Just when you figure out the plan and then you find the plan to beat that.
Tyson was on top of the world for 2.5 years. You know, when it was like this guy is the baddest motherfucker on the planet. Like, and everybody honestly believed.
Probably like 5-6 years. It was probably the best heavyweight.
From 88 to 90. I mean, 3 years probably tops. Like 88 to 90, it was like he was the baddest motherfucker. But even then, like his best win was Trevor Berbick. But he was, I mean, not necessarily his fault. He was fighting who was available to fight at the time. But once he lost to Douglas, it was like it went downhill real quick, right?
I have a problem with that, and it's not just in boxing; it's in MMA. Oh, well, who do they beat? Listen, these fighters aren't the promoters.
In the grand scheme of things, if we're ranking him all time against other heavyweights, the fact that his best career win is against Trevor Berbick, is he a great fighter? Yeah, I think he had more of an impact on the sport. Like, Tyson should be known more for the impact that he had on boxing. Like, boxing was at a time where it needed a great heavyweight champion, a great heavyweight fighter.
Here's the crazy part is look at how many other stars they had in the sport at the time. I mean, we're sitting there saying
but not at the heavyweight division.
I know, and that's the craziest thing about it. Like, look at that MMA
was hurting so bad that George Foreman came back after Tyson went to jail and won the heavyweight title at 45 years old. So, that's like that gives you an idea.
I'll never forget that. That was so fun. That was so fun during that time watching George.
Michael Moore, right? He knocked out my undefeated Michael Moore and shocked the world. It happened.
Yeah, but I mean,
but you get and that's not my point. My point with that is not like try to knock Tyson. Like Tyson at the time that he fought, like. You thought when you were first watching him come up whipping Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's kid's ass, and you're like, this guy's gonna be the greatest heavyweight boxer we've ever seen. Like, he just is. And then, like, now you look back on Tyson's career, and it's almost like you've got to look at it and say, man, he was great, but man, how special, how great could he have been if all the other crazy shit in his personal life wasn't what it was? If he wasn't the drug addict, if he wasn't addicted to alcohol, if he wasn't raping women, if he didn't go to jail, all that shit. It's almost like, as much of an impact on the sport as the guy had, he could have been even greater. He really could have been the greatest heavyweight boxer, maybe the greatest boxer of all time. And he just never gave himself a chance to live up to that potential because of all of the other personal demons that went on, with him at the time. It's like that for me is like it's almost like a sad story. You're like, damn, what that guy could have been. I like Tyson. What drives me crazy is there's some people when you ask them rate like your greatest boxer of all time, and they immediately put Tyson in like their top 2 or 3. And you're like no, like you just no, like I can't do that. Is he in my top 10 heavyweights of all time? Yeah, I can't. I probably can't even put him in my top 5 though. If he beats Holyfield, yeah. If he beats Lennox Lewis, yeah. Like, but because he loses to those guys and then loses to them the way he did, it's almost hard to ever put him in that conversation for me. I look at it as more of like, but hey, he changed boxing at a time when like he came in and had an impact at a time when it was so desperate for somebody to come in and do what he did, and you felt that impact for like generations.
Don't you find it weird that like boxing for whatever reason it needs the heavyweight division? It has to have a superstar in the heavyweight division, but where MMA has survived for so long. And there really hasn't been a dominant heavyweight champion.
Sure, but I'll agree, but also disagree at the same time because I think where I agree is boxing, from what I've always seen, and I've always been more like growing up. Like I always remember my older brothers and shit putting on boxing matches and sitting there and watching boxing with them. You know what I mean? And actually being able to like. Them, you know, we're watching whoever it was. Oscar De La Hoya obviously was a big thing when I was young in the 90s, right? Like on top of the boxing world. I don't know.
He was. Oscar was a big guy at that time, but it was funny how it went from Felix Trinidad, and then all of a sudden Bernard Hopkins was the greatest thing since sliced bread. How the champion was able to in these other weight classes being able to move from guy to guy to guy. And
so you think the superstar in the heavyweight division was always a bigger deal than the superstar in any other like?
Well, if you look at the way boxing has kind of been, like that's the way it's been forever.
I agree.
But the funny part is if you look at like mixed martial arts as a whole, regardless if we're talking UFC or whatever, right. You know, it doesn't necessarily need a big heavyweight superstar. Like you look at it, like Anderson Silva was a middleweight champion. Chuck Liddell was the light heavyweight champion. Your biggest heavyweight superstar was what? Brock Lesnar. And that's not even taking anything away from Stipe or Cain Velasquez or any of these other guys. It's just for whatever reason. And even before that, like the biggest heavyweight champ before that was Randy
Couture.
Yeah, it wasn't like and still when you look at it, he isn't like this great specimen.
I mean, I guess what I agree with your point is that boxing has always benefited from almost picked off.
Yeah, that was real close. I seen that.
Boxing has always benefited from having a legit heavyweight superstar. Like anytime boxing's had a heavyweight
I'll go to
superstar.
this, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about boxing. It doesn't matter if we're talking MMA, bare knuckle boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. Like, listen, whatever it is, if you build your stars up, the stars will tell their own story. The stars will build themselves. You sit there like you wait to build these stars up and then promote them. Like I get some, obviously in most cases that it has to be done that way, but there's some cases where we've seen it in boxing, we've seen it in MMA where someone sells more regardless of who's the better, if you feel the better draw is whatever, or who should have that billing compared to what their skill is or whatever. It doesn't always work that way, does it?
No, I mean, yeah, you're right in that sense. But I will say, like, even at a time when, like you had some good heavyweights, Lennox Lewis, Holyfield, you know, things like that. Even at a time in the late 90s when Holyfield and Tyson and Lewis and guys like that were still squaring off.
Well, like, you were even
the guy that was probably drawing more. Hold on.
Go ahead.
You were, obviously, like I was a kid, you were still growing into it all at that time. So you could say better, but it still felt like De La Hoya more than anybody else at a time there in the late 90s, 97, 98, 99, that he had more drawing power than any other boxer, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Tyson included. Like the De La Hoya Felix Trinidad fight.
But that's why
it was a bigger deal.
I completely agree with you there, and that's also why I sit there and say when people sit there and say you need the heavyweight in boxing, Oscar proves it. Mayweather proves you don't need the heavyweight. It's fun. It's because it's I think it's the our primal need for violence as human beings that we need to see these big old crazy men or women in that sense.
Boxing's proven that superstars in other weight divisions can carry the sport. Sugar Ray Leonard also proved that. But to your point, the minute Floyd Mayweather's awesome, right? Manny Pacquiao awesome, but the minute a guy like Deontay Wilder's knocking people's heads off and reminded people of a young
Listen, I'll say this, but men. I'll say it once. I've said it before. I've said it 1,000 times. Don't matter if it's men. Don't matter if it's women. It don't matter if it's boxing. Whatever. We all want to see the knockout. That's what we all tune in for. So that's why we all want to see these amazing fights. That's why, for the longest time, Chris Cyborg was the biggest fight that everyone wanted to see in women's MMA, regardless of how big Ronda Rousey was. It's because she had that thunder in her hands. That's why everyone. That's why that Gina Carano.
Everybody wanted to see a Ronda Rousey Chris Cyborg fight for the longest time.
And regardless of how Ronda felt about it, how Chris felt about it, the venom they spit at each other is one of those things I felt that got stolen from us. The same thing where I feel like when George walked away when he did, and it was one of the things we're talking about, these athletes walking away at the top, where we feel like there's still some things that are left unsaid. And it's weirder in combat sports where it is in different sports, because there's other things that play into it where you didn't win because of your team or your teammate or your coaches or the thing. When you're talking about combat sports, it's just you and them. And I think that's why a lot more people kind of gravitate towards it, because it's a sacrifice of that one person, how much they train, how much work they put in, etc., how much they hone their skills. And we all get to see them, show show us what they've been working on, and sometimes it's in the greatest way of knockouts, and sometimes we get these we get these snoozers that make us want to freaking slam our head against the wall and say, why me? So I mean, at the end of the day, it's all in fun, and we'll see what happens with combat sports in the next few years. Like I said, yeah, MMA is in a weird spot with the UFC. Obviously, COVID didn't exactly help it. It's kind of put this in as a weird position. I kind of feel like, at least over the last few years, they went from growing to treading water. Be safe assumption, wouldn't you say, brother?
I don't know if they're treading water as much. I mean, it just might be they've grown so much over the past few years that it's just like
leveling out.
Like when UFC signed that deal with Fox, when UFC signed that, that's your coming out party. That's when you announce yourself as like, hey, like, we're now a big time,
Well, no, I mean, I think more I think the sale of the Zuffa with the management company probably was their coming out party.
Okay, but the bottom line is,
like, hey, we're not
about everything else.
We're not just a niche sport that we're one of the big dogs, and that's kind of
as a pro sport, you need to have one of the top networks as your main platform if you want to be considered, like a big time player.
Well, yeah, and that's what a lot of MMA promotion fight for, and that
Paramount Network and all that. And then they went to FS1. Like, no, them being able to come, and sign a deal with Fox Sports announces them as,
hey, on so many different platforms over the past 10 years. It's hard to keep up. Fuel TV, Spike TV.
but none of those. But those are all cable platforms, right?
Yeah. So now you got yourself Fox was the first major network. And then when they made the sale, they went and got rid of the Fox one, and now they're with ESPN. So
ESPN's though is one that's owned. It's at the end of the day, it's owned by Disney and affiliated with ABC.
So we're getting down to the last few minutes. I said we're going to do the giveaway. Did you see anyone in chat that kind of deserved that one for a comment? Nothing. Anyone stick out to you?
The Greg Milekovich was really the only one that was in here, like, actually, participating.
Greg.
Greg,
participate. That's just the one you remember, you jerk off.
With Don.
No, yeah, we had Don, Moria,
Don,
Ted
and nobody
P.
else.
We had Ted P. Was doing a lot of talking. I heard some stuff earlier. Joe Mama guy,
The Your Mama guy?
the Joe Mama guy,
Joe Mama, he wins. That's it. Hey, Joe Mama.
the Patriots fan. He was talking about a lot of stuff there.
Give it to Joe Mama.
So Joe Mama. What about Bryce?
Fuck him.
Why? What did Bryce do?
I just like Joe Mama more. His name's Joe Mama. How can you fucking...
Oh, my God.
He wins.
Alan Gamble. What about Damian? Damian Henderson?
His name's not Joe Mama. He came in with his real name.
Oh,
You got
man.
to some type of alter ego. You got to come in here with some type of alter ego, some type of like professional wrestler gimmick, you know, where like you're over here, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and drink your milk type. I got to feel inspired. Like I got to, you got to give me something to feel fired up about up in here.
Because Greg didn't pop on. I think it was like we were like 20 minutes in. So we had
Greg liked my Dave Chappelle joke, so there, you know,
got is that why? Because he liked your Dave Chappelle joke. You want to
got him brownie.
How do you give away to somebody inside A2D? You have to think about.
Is Greg even a part of A2D anymore? Let's be honest.
That's fucking terrible.
I've seen more of Greg in chat rooms than I have on shows in the last couple months.
What was that?
Speaking of weasels, Mr. Milekovich, since you continue to reside down here in Florida, not even an hour away from me, and I even went out of the way to hit you up and be like, yo, like, what's the deal? Like, let me know the next time you're free. Let's get together sort of thing. And you don't want to get together. We know you're not doing anything. We all know what your life is, Greg. We know how you live. It's not like you're out there, you know, living it up. I can't believe I couldn't at least be like, yo, dude, let's go watch a football game together sort of thing.
Man. Zachary. Holding grudges here.
Wait till I see you in person, Gregory.
So we're not going to go with Damien. You want to go with Joe Mama?
Joe Mama.
Well, I don't know if he's still
Well, if he's not here no more, then Don gets it.
Well, Don was perfect.
And
then you're gonna skip Damien Hernandez again. That is terrible. You are terrible.
Don, hold on. Don, if we're being fair, is loyal every single week in the chat room.
Yeah.
Not just like a couple minutes show, like start to finish. He's in that chat room. You know, and he's engaged.
I can say the same thing for Bryce. Bryce is on here for multiple.
Right, no, you're right. Bryce, you know, I don't know. I felt like hating on Bryce for a minute. Listen, Don. Not only is he a loyal listener and he engages every single week, but he's also a Lions fan, and you almost gotta feel bad for him because of being a diehard Lions fan.
We'll do it this way then. Since me and you were still debating over this, Damien. Don, Bryce and Joe Mama. If you're here, you have to come back next week. You know, I still got the signed glove. I still got a jersey here. I got some stuff, some other stuff. We're gonna have to come back.
Comment or most comments?
No, just something that stands out. You know what I mean? That's what I said last week. It doesn't have to be anything crazy like that. And we got a late one. Suzuki Jim's going over in here saying hello.
Okay, Suzuki Jim, you want to be in the conversation? You got to give me something better than hello.
All right, but like I said, so the breakdown is Damien, Don, Bryce, and Joe Mama, right?
Yeah, unless you want to add Suzuki Jim late. I don't.
Well, he just said hello. That's not.
I haven't seen him until just now. Random. He wasn't here earlier, right?
That's a random one.
Oh, okay. So then when he doesn't get him, I thought he was trying to be like, "Hello, I've been here the whole time. Where's my invitation?" I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't see any comments. I went through them. I didn't see anything.
Well then
that'll be his.
Hi, Suzuki Jim.
I've seen him on here before.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Dank Burrito to show back up. That was a funny one.
Yeah, I mean, and who's the other guy that we told to piss off, and he's never come back?
Oh, I don't
Steve P,
know.
maybe.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm still waiting for that was the guy who was giving you crap about the Jalen Hurts. That's what that was. That was that.
Well, he had to be quiet because then Jalen Hurts started stinking it up and looking a lot like Tyrod Taylor. Then he even started looking like
Yeah, because what happened is I had my my electronic sabbatical, so we didn't get to finish that argument.
Yeah, all I said was that I thought that Jalen Hurts would be closer to Tyrod Taylor than he would be to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, then he basically branded that.
Such an insult.
He braided
Such an insult. It was. I mean, there's never been more of an insult. Apparently, it was so outrageous for me to say such a thing.
All right, so
attacked for it.
So, and I think if I remember, Bryce was YouTube. I think it's all YouTube comments that we picked. So Bryce, Don, YouTube. But yeah, all of them are YouTube commenters. I believe so. So that'll work.
That'll work. There you go.
So make sure you guys are tuned in next week. Already have a guest lined up. Not sure what happened with Mr. Alvey. I'm gonna have a little conversation with Mr. Smiling Sam. Gave him his reminder. He looked at everything. Everything should have been good. Not sure what happened. We'll get him rescheduled. Sam's always a blast to talk with. But yeah, we'll have some fun next week. And bring your comments because you have to get Zachary and my approval. So I can give away this lovely signed glove from Vinny Panzians. And like I said, we get some more people in the chat next week. We get some more people comment. I got some other stuff laying around here I'm trying to give away from you people. For our loyal supporters and followers, and not just throwing stuff out there, clout chasing on social media. This is for the people who really support us and show us love on a weekly basis. And I agree, Don should be in the mix. I already hooked up Prism earlier last year. He got one of the Chris Leben signed gloves, and Chris is going to be fighting back there in January, or I'm saying January. It's next month, February 5th. So should be a fun one. We'll be back next week. Zachary, anything else before we let this one go? I guess that would be
for everybody out there that
he's just stroking his hair.
For everybody out there that get to do that. Tom's still watching. Steven, I know you miss being able to do this.
Really, dude, you're gonna go there? I don't think my hair was ever that long, so I don't think I missed it. But whatever you want to tell yourself, my friend. I already said all the hair ran from my head and went to my face. It's okay.
Yeah, it disappeared off your head and showed up on your back, right?
No, luckily I don't have a hairy back. Thankfully.
Really, dude, you I can't believe this because you really do come off as to me you're the type of dude that's shirt off at the football game, hairy chest, hairy back. You're that hairy,
What am I, some big old Iranian guy or something like that?
That guy.
See, when I think of that, I think of
I totally just stereotyped you. I really did. Just totally stereotype the hell out of you.
It's okay. I still love you. I know it came from a good place.
Shirtless guy at the football game.
I know it came from a good place of love and friendly ribbing. It wasn't out of a place of hate. So I forgive you, Zachary. But anyways, we'll be back next week. Same time, the same channel. Make sure you guys are showing all the guys on social on A2 Love on here on social media, checking out the platform, heading down to Philly Drinkers, getting some more of A2D gear, weekly roundup stuff, whatever it was, whatever it is you want. Obviously, the new hoodie just dropped, the fleece Nike hoodies, so guys might want to hop on that.
There we go. Can't beat it.
Wait a minute. You're going to pop in here last minute and say we sleeping on the Rams? Really? Why don't you wait till it ends? Why don't you wait till the show ends? Mr. Irrelevant at the end and come back and watch the first 20 minutes of it.
Well,
where we were making comments where that's saying they could win this game, but you want to come in here with all that.
Close,
yeah. Well, I mean, hey, a point we have already made earlier in the show, my friend.
The best corner and defensive players on the same team. Yeah, great. And Green Bay scored 19 first half points. They're about to they're close to dropping a 40 spot.
Check it out, man. Like, listen. It's a tempo. It's with a two score game. 19 to 10. Just a little starting at a little bit faster than I thought it would. Like I said, I thought they could combine. They wouldn't have been more than 20 points at the half. I said it was 17 between the two.
The conditions for this time of year in Lambeau, is actually really good.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
Well, we are Eagles fans. I'm not gonna lie who I am, but I'm not gonna sit there.
Y'all look like Eagles fans. Yeah, what did you think we were?
Guy, you were talking about your Rams. What do you say about this? I'm just curious.
Uh-oh.
I'm just curious. But anyways, we're not sleeping on the Rams. We were definitely trying to give them some love here. Hey, listen, we randomly guess things on here sometimes too. It happens.
You just randomly guessed that we were Eagles fans? We're A2D radio, and it's like what?
We're from Philly. You see how many Eagles Philadelphia personalities are up around?
And we just spent a whole show dedicated to the Phillies, the Sixers, and the Eagles.
Well, actually, if you look at,
I just randomly guessed that you guys were Eagles fans. Are you in here trolling on my show?
No, I don't think he's trolling. I just think it's one of these things where the beautiful things of social media and new people come across us. So
you can't troll, but if you're serious, we join in.
See, like I said, somebody just came across us, and they're like that. All right, so
next
I'm going
week,
to do you a favor.
4 o'clock, 1 p.m. Hold on, it's going to be 1 p.m. Welvin's time. Welvin the Great, 1 p.m. next Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Where you at?
So Welvin, come back here next week. We'll have another talk, and actually, I got some stuff for y'all Rams fans. I do got some stuff for y'all Rams fans.
Yeah, Melvin might have to add him. He might get added into this conversation, the giveaway conversation.
The giveaway conversation next week. We gotta see what we get going with.
You gotta tune in next week. You gotta keep kicking ass with your comments. We love we love people that want to challenge us too. Like if you want to challenge us and be confrontational, we love it.
We do love a good conversation.
Live on that shit in Philadelphia.
We do.
So trust me, we ain't gonna hate the fact.
And apparently, Don has not tuned out. Don
finds this whole thing hilarious right now. So there you go, Welvin. You're officially a part of the family.
See, he already knows what it is.
You're part of the A2D family. Yeah.
Well, Welvin, welcome to the madness that is A2D and the weekly roundup. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. We'll be back here, and like I said,
we got some
giveaways going on. So well,
same shenanigans.
It will be the same shenanigans. Me and this guy over here. Yes, same time, same day, my friend. It's Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. On your time, that'd probably be what 1
p.m. your time, 1 p.m. West Coast time.
So just remember, my friend, we out here. Love you. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next week. Peace.